episode 4 of Stuck Between a Rock
That's me.
and a Bald Spot.
That's him. That guy. He's the bald
Drew,
one.
this guy.
I don't know
Very
if you guys
bald.
could tell or not. I know we're a couple episodes in. Did you say episode 3, by the way? Because we're on episode 4.
I said 4.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know we're a few episodes in, but he's the bald one.
Exactly. Just in case that wasn't clear. I'm bald, he's Rock. So let's talk about Harry Potter. The show. Again. We did already mention it previously. Because Papa, I don't actually know how to pronounce his name. It looks like it's
I said, I don't fucking know how to say it.
Papa Isidue?
Yeah, I don't know.
Asidu. I could see it being Asidu. So he was not nominated. He was cast as Severus Snape, which that's its own slew of issues. But they just formally announced that they're confirming 6 roles being cast. First and foremost, Albus Dumbledore is going to be John Lithgow. Lithgow,
I think.
which is sick. He is, at least to me, the most known actor on this list so far. He's a 6-time Emmy winner, 2-time Tony winner, which means he does plays. That's kind of cool. And he's a BAFTA and an Oscar nominee. So, and he even just recently won the 2025 Best Actor Oliver Award for his role in the West End theater production Giant. I know him best as the Trinity Killer in Dexter. Dexter was like a pretty sick show for its time.
Sick, like in the head sick?
Yeah, like it makes you it makes you very ill.
Perfect.
That show was really good. Actually, the season that John Lithgow is in was probably the last really good season.
Perfect.
And I think it's partially because how the fuck do you top his performance?
You don't.
Yeah, you don't. That's true. He was a villain in the show, and very good. He gives like grandpa energy. So for him to be a spoilers serial killer was
Oh, I thought you were gonna say the headmaster of a school, but okay, that's fair. You meant his his persona as a non-serial killer was old man.
Yeah,
Grandpa.
Yeah, his persona, because he's a furry.
Exactly. And then his what's the opposite of a persona?
Persona?
His Ted Cruzona, because Zodiac killer.
Sure.
Was a serial killer. Got it.
So next up on the list we have Janet McTeer. She is going to be portraying the Hogwarts deputy headmistress and head of Gryffindor House, Professor McGonagall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know who she is.
She, if I'm being honest, I don't either really. The thing I will say about her though is I feel like they cast her more on the way she looks than anything else, because she kind of looks like Dame Maggie Smith.
True. That is the one thing I noticed as well.
Not identical, or like I'm not trying to say like, oh dude, all white people look the same. I just mean like there's a resemblance of some sort at least. It's not like Severus Snape being Alan Rickman and is now Papa, however you say his name.
Asaidu.
I don't want to say it because I don't want to say it wrong.
True.
Asaidu.
I'm getting hung up on his first name. Is it Papa?
Or is it
Papa?
Dude, we need to watch an interview or something where they say their names, where like they introduce themselves like, hi, I'm so and so.
True. So next up, Severus Snape, Papa Asaidu, hopefully.
Hopefully. I think he was the first casting they made.
True. He was Emmy and BAFTA nominated for his turn in comedy drama I May Destroy You,
Never heard of it.
So this is the only other person I have ever heard of. Nick Frost. He was cast as Rubus Hagrid, which I think he actually might do pretty good. He was in he was in Shaun of the Dead,
Yeah, the Cornetto
Hot
trilogy.
Fuzz.
Yeah, Hot Fuzz.
Thank you.
Shaun of the Dead.
Cornetto trilogy.
And then what was the last one? This Is the End? No, that was that other one. It's something like that. This Is the End?
Yeah. No, it's not This Is the End.
There were two movies that came out like the same year, and This Is the End was the other one that was like all the celebrities or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like it's like World's End or something.
Yeah. World's End.
Okay.
Yep. Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, The World Ends.
And
the World's End.
He's always doing that stuff with that other guy. Whose name I just totally forgot right now in the moment. The other guy in the Cornetto trilogy. Who?
Huh?
Why'd
you forget
it? The guy who plays Shaun of the Dead. What the?
Simon Pegg, Nick
Simon
Frost.
Pegg. Huh? Who did you say?
Nick Frost.
No. There's Nick Frost, and then he's always doing films with Simon Pegg, which is the guy's name that I forgot, but I just remembered. Anyways.
Which one of them does the pegging?
Martin Freeman, funny enough.
Oh, okay. Anyways, those movies are good. I actually haven't seen The World's End, but Hot Fuzz was pretty funny, and Shaun of the Dead was pretty funny.
You've got red on you.
I'm sorry.
That's a quote from the movie.
Don't you fucking say stuff to me.
Anyways, if you guys don't know, he's the Nick Frost who's playing Hagrid is the guy who there's like the gif or whatever where he's loading a shotgun and he's like, shame. That's him.
Yeah, he's a bit of a chunkier guy. I think he's gonna be a really good Hagrid.
He's not so chunky anymore. He has been in the past, but he's lost a lot of weight recently. I've seen some recent photos of him, and he's not that heavy.
Horrible casting. Then they should have cast Jonah Hill. That would have been. That would have been a horrible.
Jonah Hill was in that other movie that I was talking about. This is
the end.
Yeah,
true.
Dude, full circle.
So next up, Luke Thallon. He is playing Quirinus Corell, the defense against the dark arts professor.
I honestly would have just said Professor Quirrell. I don't like how you said his first name. I don't know how you say it, but that didn't feel right. I think he's a good fit for that. I don't know anything about him, but he looks like a Professor Quirrell. Just shave him.
Quirinus Quirrell. And then last but not least, Paul Whitehouse has been cast as Argus Filch.
I have only one problem with that. That dude is gonna die before they finish the show.
Spoilers.
Huh? The actor. I don't think the character dies in Harry Potter. I don't think Filch dies. Paul Whitehouse is pretty old already, is he not?
I mean, he definitely looks pretty old. Yeah, honestly, I mean, so
66. He's actually not as old as I thought he was, so he might make it.
So the only two actors I actually know out of this list are John Lithgow and Nick Frost. I think those two are really solid choices based off me knowing them as an actor.
Agreed.
I don't know the other three.
I mean,
so based off those two, though, I feel confident that they might be solid choices. I still think the Severus Snape one is odd, considering the material.
Well,
but
I mean,
if he's a good actor, then I think it will be okay. I do think they're gonna have to change some things because if Potter's dad's bullying the
black
only
guy,
black
yeah.
wizard. Yeah, that's gonna cause some issues.
Dude, it's one of those things that like Snape is like the outcast, and like I think we talked about this already, but like, you know, he's the half-blood, he's the outcast. Like there's all these things that like, because it's a black guy, all of a sudden it's problematic, right?
Yeah.
I have no doubts that like he probably is a good actor. I haven't seen anything with him in it, so I'm not gonna say he's a good actor, but I imagine if they're casting him that he's at least got some talent.
I mean, he was Emmy and BAFTA nominated.
Yeah, exactly.
For a comedy,
so that's pretty good. So I mean, I'm sure he's a good actor. The problem is going to come down to they either need to tweak some things so it doesn't seem like his race is why he's getting bullied. I don't know how they're going to do that. There are worse characters they could have cast as a black person though. Like if they had made Voldemort black, for instance, he's like the black snake guy, that would be probably not great.
Probably not.
They couldn't make like the Malfoys black, probably, because they're like just like any of the villains basically. There's a whole family called the Blacks. Making them black would have seemed a little on the
That's
nose
like a South
or something.
Park joke,
Yeah,
dude. Holy
it really
shit,
is, dude. So like, I think he was one of the safer picks to make black. It's just the fact that like when you look at his history and like how he's treated by other characters, like Harry, for instance, the main character, Harry's like, oh, there's something going on. It must be that black guy, and it's like, whoa. You know, like Harry, you can't be saying that, dude. We'll see how that turns out, though.
Well, and like, so my only issue with it was the fact that like most of the characters don't really get described in the book, but Snape very specifically does. That was my only issue with it.
Yeah,
was they literally refer to his skin as being like pale or something like that.
Yeah.
So that was
true.
my only issue with it.
Well, I don't know. There's the whole Half-Blood thing that goes on. I feel like that has some
racial connotations.
It can, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's things about it that make him problematic, but like they couldn't make like if they wanted to put a black person in the series to have a black person, they couldn't do like Ron, like the Weasleys, because now you're making the poor family that everyone bullies black. Like you can't do that, right? Like it's just
that would be problematic.
Like, yeah, it's like I think anyone would be. It would be problematic for most of the characters to be made black, like for the sake of having a black character. Now, if
I know, just make
if he's just the best actor for the part, cool.
Cast Hermione as Zendaya. Problem solved.
You can't cast Hermione as a black person, because that she gets mudblood scarred. Someone with a knife cuts mudblood into her arm. Could you imagine doing that to a black person? That's crazy. That's insane. You would never see that on television. That's like some fucking American History X bullshit.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't think most of the characters are problematic if they're black. That's all I'm saying. Snape might, although like at first look it's like, oh, Snape, but he might be one of the safer choices.
Yeah, I guess that's actually fair. It turns out Harry Potter's just a racist ass book. If you go changing the characters to black people.
Well,
ironically.
When you write a character who's Chinese and name her Cho Chang,
that's kind of crazy. Yeah, that's fair.
You know, and J.K. Rowling did some other things too, but one thing I don't know if she had any hand in, but there's this recurring character in some of the films who is a black guy, and I don't know which character he's supposed to be of the students because I don't think they ever say his name, and I've never bothered to look it up. But every time he's on screen, he says something about like, oh, that's like black as smoke, or it's like dark or something. He's like always saying something that it's like, is he saying that because he's black? Like, did they make the black guy say something about being black in front of everyone. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, drop race innuendos.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just something I noticed. It could just be on accident. I don't know. Maybe they filmed a bunch of lines and then they're like, this line, we're gonna put this line in the film, and that's the one that made the cut. I don't know.
Maybe. Well, moving from fantasy racism to space racism,
It's still in a fantasy setting.
True. Shawn Levy is
Levy?
making a Star Wars movie. Levi.
We don't know how to say his name. It's I've heard Levy, I've heard Levy, and I want to say Levi, so who knows?
Yeah.
Now,
So aka Shawn Levitation.
Exactly.
He is directing a new standalone Star Wars film called Star Wars Starfighter.
All right.
Ryan Gosling has been cast. We don't know if he's the main character. I'm gonna probably assume Gosling is. He has main character energy. I really fucking hope they don't just essentially make him be Han Solo. He needs to have his own vibe.
So I think it's more, from what I understand anyway, I think it's less Han Solo as this amazing pilot, blah blah blah, the Solo movie. I didn't actually watch that because I heard it was bad.
It had decent parts, but yeah, basically
it's less
bad.
of it being about, oh, he's an amazing pilot, and it's more like he's a resistance fighter of some sort who is like, it's like a more militarist. They're making Top Gun Maverick basically in Star Wars. That's
Star Wars,
yeah.
So honestly, that actually sounds kind of fucking badass. Top Gun Maverick, that was like probably like the third or fourth movie I watched when I first got my home theater, and it was so fucking good. Especially like with the home theater and like a really nice 4K TV, it was so good. So if they could do that but Star Wars, that actually sounds really fucking cool.
Yeah.
So timeline, it takes place 5 years after Rise of Skywalker. It is its own standalone story. So it's not a sequel, not a prequel. It's its own thing.
Well, I mean, in that sense, it is sort of a prequel because where they're setting it in the universe. I mean, not a prequel, a sequel.
A sequel, okay.
But the fact that they're setting it after Rise of Skywalker is interesting because it's going to be interesting to see what sort of villains they dream up. Maybe it's not. I mean, we'll have to wait and see more information about it, I guess. But it's not like they can reuse the New Order. It's not like they can reuse the Empire, basically. Like,
yeah,
you're gonna be like, oh, there's the Empire a third time. Like, I was mad enough when New Order was like episode 6 ends, right? Return of the Jedi, maybe.
Yeah.
Episode 6 ends, and there's like a resolution, right? And this is spoilers. The movie is like 40 years old or however old it is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Proceed with fucking caution.
Luke has defeated the Empire. He defeated the Emperor, and they destroyed.
But who's his dad?
James Earl Jones. Anyways, he defeats the Empire, right? He defeats the Emperor. The rebel resistance wins, yada yada, etc., etc. They destroy the Mega Death Star or whatever the hell it's called in that film. The bigger, better Death Star or whatever.
Two Death, Two Star. That's what it was called.
Yeah, exactly. Death Star 3, Tokyo Death Star.
Yeah.
Drift Jedi. I just got done watching it. That's a joke.
Death Star Drift.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That's a joke only we're gonna get. The problem is they have defeated the Empire and won back freedom for the Republic, or what's left of the Republic, which is basically nothing.
Yeah. Several planets, that's it.
And what happens? But the New Order fills the power vacuum that's left over. Which is really like kind of defeats the whole purpose of him winning at all, because like you basically were like, yeah, he won, but then like the other guy stepped in. It's kind of like what happened in World War II, honestly. We win, we defeat the Nazis, and then all of a sudden Russia is our enemy. Um,
So I was gonna say, so I do get your point. It is kind of like it makes it seem like what's the point, but that's kind of like how life is, right? Like history's doomed to repeat itself.
that quick
Uh,
though, the same, and it, like
I mean,
the new order
that was
comes
like
in
40 years in between.
between when Luke defeats the Empire and when the new order shows up.
Yeah, basically something like that. Like I think
Okay,
in
well,
episode 7,
that
I'm
makes
pretty sure the new order was like pretty newly formed. I'm pretty sure.
while that might be the other thing that makes me upset is spoilers, by the way, for the sequel movies. Um, if it was 40 years, what the fuck was Palpatine's children doing?
Fucking.
Because
Um
Rey is allegedly his granddaughter,
mhm.
but if it was 40 years and she's like, I don't, how old is she? She's like 19 or 20 or something.
Anyone?
She's not in her 20s, is she?
I don't know. Probably yeah, probably like 19, 18, something like that.
Because if she's in her
Legal.
20s already, like that makes it a little more makes a little more sense. But like, when did his clone go off and his clone or whatever go off and make some babies? Because that, I feel like the timeline there doesn't add up correctly. Not that might just be a critique of the sequels and how trash they are, but
No, it kind of does. If he goes and has a kid at 20 and then she's 20.
well, when did he get cloned? When was his clone alive?
I don't know. So in the like material that fills in the gaps after episode 6, there's like Mandalorian, Ahsoka, like all those shows and stuff like that. I guess Ahsoka's actually not after episode 6, but either way, there's been like, some fill-in material in between episodes 6 and 7. Um the first order, from what we have seen, still has not been formed. So it definitely wasn't right after episode 6. There was definitely like a handful of time.
I
I'd
mean,
have to look through it again. I'm pretty sure
I
in
suppose
episode
like
7 it talks about that. Like they're newly formed, or like they at least just showed up. Like they had been like working in the background, but they kind of like more recently shown up.
I just sort of feel like it was a cop out. I mean, I understand that maybe it does make sense, and maybe we could like feasibly understand that it happened that way. Because there was a power vacuum after the Empire disappeared, and if they didn't fill it with their own, Senate
Well, it
or
just always
whatever
happens.
government, like obviously there's plenty of room for a coup or whatever. But the fact that we watched 3 films, because Star Wars is sort of political in nature, right? So we watched 3 films, which are
Very fucking political.
the prequels. Okay, it's like the collapse of the Republic, right? And so it's like very democratic. Like they vote, they have senators, they have representatives, like yada yada. It's like a republic, right? I mean, it is literally a republic.
Yeah, I was gonna say it literally is.
It shifts to an emperor, like an emperor model, which is like a monarchy, right? And so now it's an empire, which is like a single ruler, and then it's like, I don't know. You can look up all the political terms and all that. But so we have that shift from the collapse of one political system, and then the transformation into the next one. And then in the original 3 movies, we have the resistance who's fighting against the oppressive empire, which is like, they're evil, basically. There's no other way to put it. They just are evil. And so
True.
it's like the evil king or whatever, and they're trying to get out from underneath him. And then they get out from underneath him. And so like those are 2 different like succinct scenarios of like different storytelling. And then we go to the sequels, and they're like, we could do a different story. We could do like now that they free or whatever, they establish a brand new type of government of ruling. They could have done something like that, but instead they're like, you know what did they do in the originals? Let's just copy that.
Yeah, well,
And
those movies had their own slew of issues.
I don't know. I just feel like it was a cop out because they just redid the same thing but worse, and I didn't care for it.
There's a lot of similarities between The Force Awakens and A New Hope. A lot of fucking
Oh,
similarities.
like an eerie amount. It's almost like they just were like, "Hey, copy my homework, but make it different."
Yeah, but change the answers a little. I mean, so you literally gender swapped Luke. It's still an orphan. Ray was more
On a
alone
desert
than Luke
planet, by the
was,
way.
but on a desert fucking planet. Yeah, that was like that was the most jarring thing. I was like,
Who
okay, an
meets a
orphan on a desert
pilot?
planet.
Who meets a pilot who flies away on the Millennium Falcon? I don't
Yeah,
think
they even it's even the same ship.
did they meet Poe on that planet? Because I don't actually think did. I think they did briefly
He
meet him.
crashed. Yeah, him
Yeah.
and Finn crash.
Okay, yeah.
And
So yeah, yep.
and BB leads her to them. Yeah.
Oh, there's a droid.
BB. Yeah. The droid yeah, dude, holy shit. Yeah, a lot of fucking similarities.
Oh, and then Han Solo dies. Spoilers. That's very akin to Obi-Wan dying. Like,
Yeah.
And then Chewbacca gets mad and pissed off and shoots his crossbow everywhere. I don't.
Yeah,
actually
all
think
over the
that
place.
happened. I don't think that. Yeah, all over the place. I don't think that actually happened before, but
But yeah, a lot of fucking similarities. So much so that it's like if you took those out, then like it's not gonna seem as like jarringly obvious. But it's like you have like one after another, after another, after another, and it's like, damn, okay, dude, yeah, you kind of just copied A New Hope. It's a palette swapped New Hope, which you know how I fucking hate palette swaps.
Ninjaman's hate palette swaps, dude. All right. Well, anyways, the hope is Ryan Gosling and Shawn Levy are going to make a new story, hopefully. That is good. I want to see villains that are not an empire. I want to see like maybe it's more like they're pirates or something. That would be cool. If they're like a squad of like rogue, like a rogue squad of people who are like privateering or pirating.
Dude, it might be bounty hunter esque. They
That could be
released
cool too.
Wait a minute. I'm getting shit mixed up. Sorry.
Oh.
So it could be bounty hunter esque, but I was thinking in the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer, you see fucking Jabba the Hutt's son for like a very brief second. They're bringing the Hutts in, and he's not a. I mean, he's still a fat slug, but he's like a buff fat slug.
True. The next thing I wanted to know was this the one we were talking about the other day that's releasing in May but not on May 4th?
Yes, May 28th of 2020 fucking 7. You're gonna release it in May and not release it on May the 4th. I get that that's like a fucking Monday or something, dude, but come on, brother. It's right fucking
Dude,
there.
it is right
May
there.
the 4th.
I feel like they're really dropping the ball on that. Like it's a little thing, and it's like it really is such a little thing. But like,
Dude, there's
on.
such a cult following behind Star Wars, dude. You could drop it on fucking Easter Sunday and people would show the fuck up.
Yeah, they would. Which, speaking of Star Wars, Fortnite is having a whole bunch of sick Star Wars characters show up in the next coming season.
True.
They had a little trailer Saturday about that. And,
shout out Darth Jar Jar.
Yeah, Darth Jar Jar, Darth Sidious, long-awaited skin Darth Sidious. We got Wookiee team leader. We got some other. She has a name. I don't know what her name is. She's a Fortnite skin that they've given 2 outfits: a Jedi like Padawan outfit, and then like a Sith outfit. Yeah, that's kind of cool. They're adding they're adding Mace Windu. And I thought what was interesting is that they're adding a Mandalorian skin where you can customize your own Beskar armor, so you can make your Mandalorian look however you want your Mandalorian to look.
That is really freaking cool. Because hopefully, I mean, I'm sure like at some point, depending on how many like options you have, you're probably gonna see someone whose armor looks similar. But I'm hoping like there's enough customization that is very likely very unlikely to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know how in depth it's gonna be.
I mean, so they have like superheroes, and they have like, let's see, there's superheroes, and then there's like school uniform kids, and then there's some other one that they have where you can already customize them, and like, so it's usually like you can switch a pattern or two, or like markings, and then you can switch like colors. But some of them, like the school students, for instance, you can switch, like they have 3 different uniforms, and you can pick your top and your bottom and swap between whatever whatever top and bottom you want out of the 3 choices for each.
That's cool.
So like, and then there's the color swap, so like you can make them look different, at least to some degree, or the same.
Yeah, it's true. So like, yeah. So I mean that as long as it's more in depth than that, I mean that's already like several. I mean, what would 3 and 3 give you? Fucking 9 or something? I don't know. I'm not good at fucking Punnett squares or whatever the fuck that is. But
that sounds right to me. I think it's just multiplication. It might be a little more complex than that, but I think it is just multiplication. You just multiply the choices by you get the combinations by multiplying the number of choices by the number of choices, I think, for each slot. Yeah. So I mean, you know, maybe it'll be like you can have a different piece of armor in a different place, or like a different pattern or a different marking. So hopefully,
are you gonna be able to change the color of that, or is it gonna be like just markings or stickers or something?
I mean, there's not like a video or anything out of it yet, but it seemed like you'd be able to change like the color, some part of the color, maybe like the base, like the leather parts or something, and then the metal, it will still just be the whatever color. But you know, we've seen other like Mandalorian, like Beskar armors in other colors, so I don't know. It's just palette swapping though. Hopefully it's more than palette swapping though. Hopefully it's got like, you can take, I don't know, like helmet off, helmet not off, like, I don't know, something like that.
So to get a little into the lore, I don't know for sure if it might just be like wow, look at my fucking shiny, not gold, but like gold in rarity armor.
Yeah.
But like Mando got Beskar and he just rocked it as like its silver metal looking state.
Right.
I'm pretty sure you can paint it, but I think that's like kind of seen as like, wow, you're desecrating that great armor. Like it's really great armor, and if you have it in its original form, then it's gonna be like very known, and it's kind of like it's kind of like flexing. Like you're flexing on the enemies, because like it's like, wow, you actually have like legit Beskar armor. And I think like when it is painted, it most likely is not Beskar, but I'm sure there at some point there have been Mandalorian, and maybe maybe when it was like more
Jango and Boba Fett wearing Beskar, or they're just wearing fake Beskar.
So, well, I mean, like Mando in season 1 had non-Beskar Mandalorian armor. I don't know if their armor was Beskar. I want to say it wasn't. But
no,
because they're not actually Mandalorians,
right?
And I'm pretty sure in their like tribe, you have to be a Mandalorian to rock the actual Beskar. Yeah. I mean, they are wearing like, you know, Mandalorian armor, but I'm pretty sure like they're pretty protective over the over the metal.
See how Fortnite does it. I think it's funny that they are putting Darth Jar Jar in. Ever since Darth Jar Jar became canon, sort of, has been kind of a hilarious timeline. I always did say that he started the Clone Wars, because technically he was the vote that decided it all, because Queen Amidala gave him power of attorney, for lack of a better word. I think she gave him, but he was representing what was their planet called? Tatooine? No, that's not right. Where the Gungans? What are they called?
Where they're from? I'm not good at Star Wars planet names.
It's gonna come to me. It's not Tatooine. That's wrong. It's well, whatever that planet is, where they have the big fight against the droids at the end of that, and the Gungans. It's
Gungarians?
I'm gonna be honest.
It's Gungan.
That's the movie I've seen the least of the prequels, and it's been a while since I've seen it. But anyways, point is,
Their armor is pure Beskar. Old canon, it was a mix. New canon, both Jango. Well, I mean, Boba's armor is Jango's, but
right.
Jango's armor, yes, is pure Beskar.
Alrighty then. So,
and it's painted, so
true. All right. So the other thing is the. Anyways, I always said Jar Jar started that whole debacle because the Chancellor.
He is a Sith Lord, so I mean,
Palpatine manipulated him into starting the war against the Trade Federation.
I've also seen episode 1 the least. Jar Jar makes me want to fucking strangle a chicken, dude. He is.
It really.
He was put in as comedic relief, and I don't think he's funny at all. The stupid tongue shit he does, dude. It like makes me irrationally angry. I think.
I thought it was funny when the film first came out
when you were 7. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, but it's one of those. It's hard to watch because of him. I recently rewatched it on YouTube, the movie. When I say recently, it was like 6 years ago.
Okay, dude.
I I watched a cut because they put a cut out where anytime he speaks, it skips it. And it skips whenever the droids say anything, it skips that too. So like all the annoying shit in episode 1 is just gone. It's honestly like.
Yeah, and did the story suffer at all? No, I'm sure it didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. But it just skips. It skips all the Jar Jar lines and all the droid lines. It's a pretty good cut. You should watch it.
There's a cut of they might have one of all the movies, but it's like a meme cut. Fucking Dank and I quote it all the time. The R2 do you are fucking. It was called it's like called like Star War or something like that. And it just they like dub over everything, and the actors sound pretty similar to like the actual actors. So it actually sounds like Anakin asking R2 that mishmash of words.
Dude, is it when he asks him that? And then R2 just screams and then they fucking blow up.
Basically, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Basically something like that, dude. So it was like it's like 51 minutes long or something like that. I always wanted to watch it, but I just never got around to it because it's literally just a meme movie. Yeah. And I've never like felt like I should actually just sit down and watch it. I've always wanted to because it does sound funny, but that sounds like such a waste of an hour. Maybe watch it after the podcast. I just won't sleep ever again.
Yeah, fuck sleep.
Exactly. Fuck sleep. Moving on. So there's this new movie out. It is called Sinners. It is a new movie by Ryan Coogler. Which if you don't know who he is, he did the Creed trilogy. He did Black Panther 1 and 2. Very good director. I really like him. I was not a big fan of Black Panther 1. Black Panther 2, great. Creed 1 through 3, 2 thumbs up from Ninjahitman himself.
I haven't seen the second Black Panther yet. I keep wanting to watch it, but I'm behind in the MCU, like really behind. I haven't even seen the second Ant-Man yet.
Brother, what the fuck? We've had 3 now.
I know. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen Love and Thunder. I haven't seen the third.
You
Ant-Man,
could fucking
obviously
skip that one, honestly.
That's what
you
people
could
tell me. I haven't seen the second Black Panther. I haven't seen most of the shows.
Yeah, but I know what the fuck you just watched like 3 weekends ago though, because you were watching it right leading up to us recording episode 0 or episode 1.
What?
You want to tell chat what the fuck it was?
No, I don't remember.
Fucking Guardians 3.
I missed most of it too because the kids were watching it technically. So right behind the
Okay,
camera.
that's a little bit better.
Right behind the camera is the TV that they use, so I was watching it. Like the camera's blocking most of the TV for me, but I was watching it through that. I did miss most of it.
That's been one of the best, or one of the better movies in the MCU. Like in the most recent phase, after Infinity War, they started dropping the ball.
That's what I
on
thought. Well, and
most of them, but it's
it
unbiased
really,
hate too a
was
lot.
after Infinity War, right? Because the first the first actual bad film was Captain Marvel, and that was right after that.
I didn't mind that. A lot of people shit on that because of Brie Larson. I didn't mind Captain
Brie
Marvel.
Larson
Captain
is-
Marvel. Captain Marvel was better than
the first Thor.
Black Panther 1, I think. The first dude, a lot of the movies, so it kickstarted the MCU, but a lot of the phase 1 movies, in my opinion, were very hit or miss. Like I haven't been able to go back and actually rewatch Iron Man 1, 2, or 3,
Dude,
and I love
like,
RDJ as Iron Man.
I feel like they didn't take themselves that seriously at first, and then they started taking themselves very seriously at some point. Because when you go back and you watch like Captain America, the first, like whatever it's called, the first Avenger, there's a scene where the Red Skull guy, what is his actual name?
Red Skull.
No, but anyways, that guy, not Hugo Weaving, but I don't remember what the character's name is other than Red Skull. But he's not Red Skull yet. He's still whatever Yahtzee or whatever. I don't know what we're supposed to say.
Yeah, Yahtzee the Nazi. Yeah, that's it.
Said Nazi in the podcast, so it's chalked anyway. Anyways, he is like taking a tank or something, or a maybe that's when he's getting on the fucking blimp thing. And the other guy's like, "Oh, how am I supposed to get back?" And he hands him his keys, and he's like, "Not a scratch." And it's like, what? You're worried about this dude scratching your fucking Volkswagen or Mercedes or whatever the fuck?
Your war vehicle.
Yeah, like I don't know. It was just goofy. I mean,
Goofy eye line.
Yeah, exactly. I guess they've kind of always been goofy, but it was like especially goofy back then.
Yeah, it comes and goes. It depends on who the director is. Like Taika Waititi's movies are always like goofy,
but they're they're serious when they need to be, though.
Not Love and Thunder. So that was the issue that a lot of people had with Love and Thunder. Is Love and Thunder was like just balls to the wall goof, except for the fucking villain. And dude, let's not get into that.
Anyway,
I got so excited for that movie.
About Sinners. Let's circle back to Sinners. Doing amazing. Outpaced Minecraft this weekend. Granted it's the opening weekend, and Minecraft's been out what now, 3 weeks?
I think this weekend was its 3rd week.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
So it outpaced Minecraft though this weekend for its opening weekend. It didn't beat Minecraft's opening weekend. But it's a horror film, right? So the genre is already off to a rocky start. Horror films generally do not perform well in the box office.
No.
So it performing as well as it has is either a testament to how bad Hollywood is doing in general, and that there's nothing good to watch right now, or it's just a really good film.
Ryan Coogler kind of usually ends up bringing audiences. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Black Panther, I think, was the first solo Marvel movie to get over $1 billion. I'm pretty sure.
Might have been the first Marvel movie to get over $1 billion. If I'm remembering that correctly, it might have been the first Marvel movie to get over $1 billion. It was
okay, maybe it was.
Came out, it was big. I remember
huge.
Yeah,
huge.
I had kind of like been watching them here and there. Like I watched Iron Man, I watched Iron Man 2. But when Black Panther came out, I was like, well, hold on. When does Black Panther take place? And I was looking at the timeline, and like I had seen the first Avengers, but I hadn't seen like Captain America 2, Winter Soldier. I hadn't seen Civil War. I hadn't seen because Black Panther came out right after Civil War, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
so I hadn't seen Civil War. I hadn't seen Age of Ultron. I hadn't seen like a lot of the movie. Like I saw. Let's just it'd be faster to name what I had seen. I'd seen the first Avenger, Captain America. I'd seen Iron Man 1 and 2. I'd seen Thor 1, and I'd seen the original Avengers. So like phase 1 basically.
Yeah.
And then Black Panther came out and so many people were talking about it, and I was like, hold on, what's going on in this movie? And that is actually what got me into watching the rest of like phase 2.
Okay.
Was Black Panther coming out because it was so popular and everyone was talking about it. And I was like, hold on, I need to be in on this. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. I'm missing something clearly.
Yeah, and I mean, I enjoyed Black Panther. I thought it was a good film. I mean, I really like Michael B. Jordan. Chadwick.
Yeah.
Uh, what's his name?
Bozeman.
Boseman. Chadwick
R.I.P.
Boseman. Yeah, R.I.P. He was phenomenal. I thought. Maybe some of the CGI and some of that stuff was kind of like stupid. And going so when I first saw it, I didn't think that, but after rewatching it, after someone pointed out that the CGI and that shit is like bad,
It was me
rewatching it,
because me and you argued about it.
no,
Because
I know it was you, but I didn't think it was that bad. But you have to remember, I watched phase 1, and then I watched Black Panther, and then I watched the rest of phase
yeah,
2, and so I was like, it wasn't that bad. I thought it was okay, but like, it's really not great.
no, and it was so crazy too. Because like that was the thing that Marvel was starting to be known for. They were like, okay, like Disney's really pouring into these movies. Like they're really giving them huge budgets, and they're they just look really good.
Well,
And the final fight between Killmonger and
Black Panther.
Black Panther looks like it could have been from the like the unfinished version of the movie. It was so fucking bad.
Uh,
So fucking bad.
yeah, there's a couple parts where it's like showing like Wakanda or like the stuff. I think what happens a lot in that movie is if you really focus on one thing, you can see how bad it is. But there's a lot of shots in the film where you're looking at like a landscape and you're not supposed to be focusing on like that one building in the distance. You're supposed to be looking at like the whole image. And when you do it that way, it looks a little better. Um,
That is probably what they were going for.
but yeah, it does not hold up at all. But yeah, Ryan Coogler's got a good he's got a good catalog under his belt for sure. And the fact that Sinners now is performing as well as it is.
Michael B. Jordan's in that movie.
True. Is
He
he the
is
main character?
he is the main character. He is playing two twins. I'm really hyped for that. You know me. I'm big into horror,
Yeah.
obviously. Big horror guy, eh?
Yeah.
So this little stat I thought was really fucking cool. This is the first horror movie in the history of Cinema Score to receive an A. Horror movies getting B's is usually viewed as like, okay, that's a really good horror movie. A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place got a B plus. So this is the first horror movie to ever get an A. So like that really sticks out to me. Right now it is sitting at a 90% average on Rotten Tomatoes, which is also really fucking high. Um, Reviews like that are subjective sometimes. Rotten Tomatoes is usually pretty safe to go off of. Rotten Tomatoes will have both critic reviews and user reviews. So for a movie to get certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, it's usually pretty good.
Yeah.
Up until I think literally yesterday, it was sitting at 100%. So it just recently dipped to a 98, and it's a fucking 98. Like that's still really good.
I mean,
I'm definitely gonna see that.
for a horror film to be anything above like a 7 is kind of impressive.
Yeah.
Most times they're campy and they're not. I mean, I feel like a lot of times they're like a sequel or like, I mean, there's how many Saw films? There's how many Texas Chainsaw Massacre films?
Yeah.
They're like, how many Chuckies are there? Like a lot of times they're sequels, and the original films weren't even like that. like didn't do that well, and then now we're making sequels. Like, I'm not
Yeah,
saying that
they get cult followings.
yeah, I'm not saying that they're bad or that they perform bad. I'm just saying, like, for them to be in the mainstream, like limelight, is really not common.
So it's kind of funny. They kind of became like a little bit of like a quick money hack. Because usually they have low budgets and they usually generate, like, even though they don't do well review wise, they generate fucking money.
Yeah,
Uh
like that with that the fucking clown one that came out recently.
yeah, what the fuck was that called?
I don't know, Tempter 3.
Oh, Terrifier.
Yeah, that's the one.
We're thinking of different movies. Okay, I thought you were talking about this other movie.
Which one?
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember the name of it. Yeah, Terrifier is a good example, and that's all fucking produced like in house. The director Damien Leone. Um, it's all like like he's not. It's not being distributed by big studio. So like that's cool as
Yeah.
shit. Those movies are really fucking gory, but me being super into horror movies, I finally like watched all three. Um 2 and 3 more so than the first one, but the second movie actually has a couple like really fucking funny parts, mostly because it's like it is trying to be funny, but like it's not supposed to be funny because like obviously he's a killer. I don't know. It's funny. It's like one of those things like I don't think everyone would find it funny, but I'd laugh my ass off because it
Dude.
kind of like it kind of just breaks character a little bit.
Jeepers Creepers 2 is one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Would you put him on your Mount Rushmore of horror icons?
I would actually. The Creeper from Jeepers Creepers, dude. He's like a, what even is he? He's like a vampire, I guess. He can fly,
Yeah,
and
he
kills
doesn't
people.
really ever say. I think he's a demon technically.
I don't know what he is, but just the movie, he's like chasing a bus of high school students, and it's just the concept of a demon chasing high school students through like Kansas, basically.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, I don't know if it states. It might, but yeah, yeah.
It's flat. And there's like a
rural
single tree.
rural cornfield
Yeah,
number 5.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like one tree, and despite the fact that there's one tree, he still manages to throw like a fucking saw blade at a guy and like stick him to the tree with it. It's
That was one of his. It was one of his demon kunai.
Yeah,
it wasn't
dude.
even a fucking saw blade.
Dude,
it was like
so,
one of his fucking knives.
It's like so stupid and ridiculous.
Well, how about in the first movie when he's driving a fucking 1947 Ford pickup truck? How about that?
Dude,
With the fucking license plate that says, it looks like it says beating you, but then when you find out he eats people, it's be eating you. How about that?
Dude, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. If you go and you watch, so like another like horror film is like Evil Dead. The original Evil Dead is actually quite terrifying, I think. Like I'm not afraid of it. Like I can sit down and watch it. It's no problem. But like that movie is actually scary. And then they remade it because better budget, and I don't know what, for whatever reason they remade it. And that one is like they changed some things, and it's still pretty scary, but it's kind of like also ridiculous. Like there's the woman in the cellar scene or whatever, and she like pops up and like starts like yelling or whatever, and it's just like kind of ridiculous. Like it's over the top, you know. And then the sequel to that, Army of Darkness, is not even like, I wouldn't even call it a horror film. It's like making fun of horror films. So like, I mean, I guess there's a fine line between being scary and being hilarious. I don't know.
A lot of movies end up doing that though, or well, like a lot of franchises they'll start off like look at Alien. Alien started off as like being sci-fi horror, and then by Alien 3 it was like fucking action.
Yeah.
And then Dead Space did it. That's a game.
Well, I mean,
started off as horror, then moves to horror action.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things that like once you blow your load, so to speak, you got nothing left in the tank. Like there's no, like you can't reveal the monster again. Like you already did that.
Yeah. Well, that, and I think like they try to hook a fan base and they're like, hey, let's hook more people because horror is such a niche thing and it's only ever going to be as big as it can be. Let's make it action. And so we'll have the people that are already
Yeah.
hooked to the trilogy or hooked to the series. And then let's make it obvious that it's going to be an action movie and we'll get more people. Terminator did the same shit. Terminator 1 horror movie, Terminator 2 action, Terminator 3 action.
Terminator 1 was kind of scary, actually. I don't
Yeah,
know.
true.
I feel like Terminator 2 was kind of scary too, because the fucking the other I said android, the other robot guy. I guess android is maybe correct.
Yeah.
The other Terminator, the T-1000 or whatever the fuck. Because what's Arnold? He's the T-100 or something.
Yeah, I think so.
The liquid metal guy, like, that's fucking scary, and he does some scary shit, like walking through a like jail cell.
Offense.
Yeah. Or like
Yeah.
he turns his arms into like long fucking spiky implements of murder. Or the fact that
True.
they like cut his they cut his legs off or something, and then he just like reattaches himself.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking scary. And the fact the actor learned how to run while breathing only through his nose, so he's not going like while he's breathing, he's just like, that's fucking terrifying, dude. That's so
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah, but what's
But then you have Arnold being like, oh
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, what's scarier than fucking like almost in his prime still Arnie fucking chasing after you with like deadpan face? That would make me shit a brick.
He's big, dude. He's a big dude.
He is a big fella for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Then he would say something and you'd be like,
Get back here.
yeah.
I want to kill you.
I'm Arnold.
Exactly. Just like that. Oh shit, dude.
Anyways, should we move
Moving on?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to circle back to Devil May Cry for a little bit. We talked about that last week.
Yeah.
The animated series on Netflix. I hadn't watched it yet. But it getting announced for season 2 reminded me that it fucking existed because I didn't realize it. I mean, it had only been out for like a week or two, so I wasn't like a year late. But
Right.
I forgot that it released. I had been anticipating it. So anyways, I binged it. Fucking solid. I actually really liked it. So I did not play. My cousin growing up, like, he was really into Devil May Cry.
Right.
So like I watched him play them. I didn't really actually start playing Devil May Cry until technically the reboot DMC. Technically that was my first one. I played DMC, I played Devil May Cry 5, and I beat both of those. But I was always interested in them.
I didn't know.
So
that.
I know a
didn't
little
you
bit.
even played those.
Yeah. I streamed 5.
I don't watch your streams, bud.
True. The reboot, I'm pretty sure I played that before I started streaming. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So it was like when you started streaming, you played 5?
No, not right when I
might
started.
remember you playing that.
It was, I mean, it was early on ish, but not like probably within the first year or two. But anyways, so the show does a really good job. It's like it's not quite an origin story, but kinda. So like Dante's already a demon hunter, but he doesn't really know who he is yet. And so the show introduces characters that are well established in the series, and you kind of get to see like Dante meeting them or like early dealings with them, and that was really, really cool. It also introduces a unique character or like an original character as the main villain, which is really cool. And the character in general is really freaking cool. The show was really, really solid. The action, like fight scenes, probably could have been a little better. But the show did a really good job at staying true to established lore. at least for me, for sure. Maybe a hardcore fan that's played all of them front and back to completion, platinumed all of them, maybe would find some issue. But from what I've been seeing, most people that are fans of the series also were pretty well or felt pretty well about the series.
Heck
So
yeah.
right now that's sitting at a 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb, 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. And this last one I honestly could care less about, but I'm still going to throw it in. 8 out of 10 on IGN.
Perfect.
IGN's just so subjective.
Yeah. Well,
I honestly haven't even taken what they say into account really since like 2017.
I feel like they get some things wrong too, or not necessarily wrong, but they're like either it's not that they're misinformed or that they're wrong necessarily. It's more like they have a rating for something and it doesn't feel like they spent enough time with the product.
Dude, they gave one of the Fast movies a fucking 10 out of 10, and that tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, they're selling
Those
reviews.
those are not cinema masterpieces, and a 10 out of 10 should be reserved for something that is a fucking masterpiece. And a Fast and the Furious movie is not that.
Maybe
They can be good at what they do, but they're not fucking cinema masterpieces.
maybe the second one.
I wouldn't even say the second one, dude. I like they're decent movies, especially like the first Tokyo Drift started getting a little funky, but like the first three were pretty solid. But it was like Fast 7 or something like that, or Fast 8. They gave a 10 out of 10, and it's just like, come on, dude. The problem with it is they just have too much free reign. So like they push their own narrative, and you're a journalist. In my opinion, there should be a standard that you hold each and every movie to, or each and everything you're reviewing. And so they just sprinkle too much of their own opinion in on it.
But I think the problem is that they have so many different reviewers.
Yeah, so I was going to say that
it's hard for them to have like a standard because it's like 100+ people.
Yeah, your 10 is going to be different from my 10. I agree with that. Yeah. They need to have like a movie guy, or you could even do it. I don't know. It might get too funky being like genre to genre. I was going to say you could even have like,
well, that's
Rock
how they
does.
used to do. Like they used to do like reviews. I don't know about IGN specifically, but I know like I think Game Informer was one. They would have like a guy, and he would be like the horror game guy, and he'd play all the horror games, and then he would tell you what he thought about them. And then so
Yeah.
when you're reading his reviews, it's like it's all the same dude, right?
And that's how it should be, in my opinion. There needs to be a set standard. And I honestly, I'm after the podcast, I'm gonna look it up. I hope the guy that gave whichever Fast movie a 10 out of 10, I hope he got fucking fired. I'm gonna be honest with you, because that is a fucking brain dead take.
The only good
Sorry.
thing that came out of IGN was old Cindy.
Yo, fucking true. I really liked the PlayStation guys back in the day, Colin Moriarty and Greg Miller. I would actually, so that was back when the fucking PS4 first came out, and either IGN had its own app or I would like watch it on YouTube, but like I would watch their like podcast show where they like talked about shit, and I actually like really liked it. And then they both left IGN, and I think that's when I stopped listening to IGN. I'm gonna be completely honest with you.
I used to watch they had like a daily thing which Sydney actually took over at some point. And I didn't like it when she took over. To be honest with you, I don't really like her that much, in fact, at all.
She's the British blonde girl, right?
No.
Who's the British blonde girl? Alana?
Maybe. I'm talking about
IGN's silly.
I don't know how to describe her. Her name is Sydney Goodman. I don't even know if she still works for IGN. I don't think she does. I think she's been separated from them for a while. She's like social influencer. She hosted the game show awards one of these years, last year, a year before.
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about.
She's this chick. I just posted a picture for you.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Um, yeah, I don't know. She's like everyone's gaming sweetheart or whatever. I don't know.
Gaming crush. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
I don't know. IGN's kind of whack though. These days.
True.
I think they used to be. Well, I don't know if they're any more reputable back in the day, but they felt more reputable back in the day.
No, they for sure were. Dude, there was definitely like some. For me, I like it legit was when Colin and Greg left, but like back in those days, at least for the PlayStation shit, like they were respectable and they actually gave you pretty good insight, and they were the PlayStation guys, like they reviewed PlayStation stuff. Um Dude, make IGN great again.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly. Yeah, I don't know. Uh Fuck IGN. Honestly.
Exactly.
Moving on to something more conspiracy theory-ish,
Oh.
more serious too. This has not been confirmed. The authorities are kind of like avoiding confirming it, which you never really want to say you have a serial killer, I guess, until you have all the facts and you
Yeah.
know for sure.
Yep.
And this could just be 3 coincidences. I feel like if another one pops up though, it's no longer a coincidence. Um, so there might be, maybe, a serial killer in the coastal states. Um, so specifically Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. Um, okay, so there's been 3 remains. They are all women. March 21st, Denise Leary. She is a 59-year-old mother of 2. She was found. Um, March 6th, there was a 35-year-old woman found. And then a 56-year-old was found in Rhode Island. So the cause of death has not been released yet as of Tuesday. I will follow up and I will try to throw it in whichever episode it ends up popping up in, but that could be serious. I don't even know.
Could
When
be.
was the last serial killer we had?
Well, the last one that made news anyway. I think I, I I hate to say this, but I feel like serial killers might be more common than we hear about.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's definitely all kinds of
Um,
shit that the
but
media leaves
it's
out.
it's when you have a hard time like finding them or like uh locating them, or like there's like a cold case, or sometimes a serial killer, you could be a serial killer if you go out and like kill 10 different people in one night, right? um so it's when they're doing crazy things, like they'll do the same thing to however many victims over the span of years or something.
Yeah.
That it's really crazy, and so that's usually the ones that make media. But uh I can't think of the last time there was actually a serial killer. I mean, who
Yeah, like I feel like the prime time for serial killers was like the 80s and 90s,
yeah, because that,
honestly.
like, when, because I mean, yeah, because I mean that's like Ted Bundy, that's like Dahmer,
Yeah.
Zodiac killer. Well, he was a little before
Yeah.
that, I think, but like um
I think he started a little bit before it, but I mean he like bled into the 80s.
John Wayne
Pun
Gacy.
intended.
um I just looked up
Yeah.
a list of prolific serial killers, and there's this guy named Pedro Lopez who It was claimed to have killed over 300 people in South America.
Never heard of him.
Not me either, but that's a lot of people to kill. His
That is a
KD
lot of
is
people.
crazy, dude.
Is he still living?
It doesn't say. I'm sure he might be.
Well, he can't die twice, so we at least know what his KD is going to end up.
He was apprehended in 1980. He is still alive. He's in prison. I'm sorry. He was released in 1998.
Releasing a serial killer is crazy work.
It's South America, dude.
That is fucking crazy work,
Also
dude.
known
I don't
as
think
the Monster of the Andes, is a Colombian serial killer, child rapist, and fugitive who murdered a minimum of 110 people.
Okay, dude.
And they let him out.
And they let him out. Yeah, I
He's
don't
reformed,
think
dude.
you can. Yeah, you can't rehabilitate that. I'm sorry. That's crazy. Not getting a life sentence for that much is crazy.
Yeah, well, so his criminal
Like you said,
penalty,
it's South America, but what the
he had a
fuck?
7-year sentence in Colombia, which was extended to 9 due to in-prison homicide. And then he had a 16-year sentence in Ecuador, but he was released after 14 years and then committed to a mental hospital in Colombia from 1994 to 1998, and then he was released. And he
That's crazy.
disappeared. He disappeared completely in 1999.
Perfect.
So maybe he went to a different country. Maybe he who knows where that guy went. Maybe someone found him and killed him.
Yeah,
if he
like
killed as
the
many
family.
people, yeah, if he killed as many people as he did, I'm sure that people were looking for him. So
Yeah,
they
for
already
sure.
got out, and he's probably dead. But that is kind of crazy they let him out anyway. But yeah, I don't know. A lot of times they don't want to publicize serial killers while someone is at large still, because
That's true.
it opens up for copycats or sympathizers who will then copy and try and make it look like them, or they want to help pad the serial killer's stats or whatever, or other people looking to commit a crime, and it's a convenient thing to like be like, oh, I didn't do that, the serial killer killed that person. So I think a lot of times they don't want to like make them celebrities, basically.
Yeah. Which makes sense, but sometimes it can kind of seem like they're being a little too hard-headed, because it's like, oh, we have a serial killer on our hands, and they're like, guys, we don't have a serial killer on our hands. And it's like, brother, there's like 10 dead, and they all have like
they're all missing their left pinky, and they have the same DNA strain of semen in their asshole.
Okay, yeah. So from what I can tell, I'm other than them being located in New England, I'm not noticing any distinct traits other than they are middle-aged women. Yeah.
I'll say, don't say white. One of them looked like she was.
Well, two of them. One of them's for sure of like African American descent. The other one could be mixed, and then there was one like white-looking lady, the youngest one.
Yeah, who knows? That's one of those things that if like you broadcast it, maybe the person will be caught sooner. But also it's like if you don't broadcast it, maybe it won't happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's also one of those things that like if they start saying, "Oh, we're looking for a serial killer," sometimes I wonder if I feel like most serial killers are psychopaths, sociopaths, whichever, both.
Both, usually.
And they have this sense of I'm going to get away with it, and so they continue to do things, but I feel like there have to be cases where they're like, "Hey, it looks like we're looking for a serial killer," and then that serial killer is like, "Oh, I'm just going to move, or I'm going to change my tactics." I don't know how often we've seen things like that, because I feel like that's a pretty good way. Like, it's like, I've gotten away with it so far. What if I just leave or stop?
Yeah, or like when they realize the heat might be on them, that might cause them to switch something up,
Yeah, or like
the MO
quiet down.
slightly or
Yeah,
the area.
yeah, exactly. But like I said, a lot of them are psychopaths. So they're like, oh, I can't get caught. I haven't been caught yet. I'm not going to get caught. Doesn't matter if they're looking for me. The other thing is if you drive up awareness, maybe people will be more careful to be like being alone or like meeting new people or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much that really helps. Maybe it doesn't help at all. Who knows? I don't think there's.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I don't think there's statistics on that.
No, at least seemingly not. That's honestly probably like. I feel like almost every episode has like at least one dark topic. That is the only dark topic for
I
this
think the
episode,
next,
at least.
well, I was gonna make a really off-color joke. I think the next topic is pretty dark too, actually.
No, not really. So Logan Paul,
Being
he
the
was,
mad lad he is.
yeah, he was about to get slapped with a good old 400K damage bill, to a private jet that he was taking. So basically, if you have not heard the story, he was on this private jet.
Chartered is
And
chartered, right? It's not his jet.
it
He's
was
chartered a jet.
chartered. He has chartered a jet. It was not his own jet, although he probably has enough money to own at least 2 jets.
No, if he sold that Charizard card, maybe.
True. So the plane was not depressurized and the door would not open.
No. What happened is they were still on the tarmac and they were loading up, getting ready to take off, I believe, and the cabin started pressurizing rapidly, and they weren't ready for it to do that.
Oh, it was getting on? I thought it was getting off the plane.
No, I think it was getting on the plane.
Oh.
At least that's what it sounded like, is that they had like already gotten on and they were settled in, and then the door was pressurizing. Anyways, point is the company said you open the door, because he opened the door while it was pressurized, and the door blew off and it damaged the jet, right? And the settlement letter reads as such: Logan Paul's actions were wholly unreasonable and showed a gross and wanton disregard for the company, the crew, and the aircraft and passengers. And Logan Paul, being a influencer and an internet celebrity, happened to be filming the incident. Like, there was a camera on him when it happened. So
Luckily for him.
Yeah, luckily for him, because so the way it happens is he's sitting in his seat. His wife is sitting across from him, who's pregnant, by the way. Not that that's, I mean, it matters, but it doesn't really matter. So his pregnant wife is sitting across from him, and then his camera guy is filming him, and then the flight attendant is there who works for the company, and she's like, "Oh, the door's pressurizing," and she's trying to open it, and she's like, "I can't get it. Can one of you guys get it?" Because there's men in the room. So she's like, "Hey," the room being the plane. Can y'all help?
I mean, it was a room of sorts.
Yeah, she's like, "Can y'all open this? I can't open it." And Logan Paul's like, "Oh shit, yeah, I got you." And so he gets up and he's like, "How do I open it?" And she instructs him how to open it, and he does what she says, and the door just goes boom and flies open. And yeah, and so they caught all that on camera, and they sent it to the legal team, I guess. And they're like, "Okay, we're just gonna drop the lawsuit," because they were trying to sue him for damages. And he was like, "Your employees told me to open it, so I did." And then they watched the evidence and were like, "Yep, we have." It says they dismissed this action with each party to bear its own fees and costs. So he got out of criminal charges, maybe, potentially, and also legal charges, because there was a camera rolling.
Okay, yeah, no, they were inside the plane.
What?
which is what I thought because yeah, it was after the flight. I'm pretty sure, unless
No, no,
it
no.
started.
They had boarded the plane and they were sitting down and they were doing all the pre-checks for the to take off, basically to get ready to fly. And the cabin began pressurizing and it wasn't ready for that. And
So
like
did they take another jet?
I guess I don't know. Like
They would have had to have
in
because the door was fucking gone.
well, yeah. No, I meant like I don't know if they took another jet or they just canceled the trip or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not like explained at all. But anyways, the point is, he's like, "Oh, my ears are popping. Can you open the door?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's not supposed to be pressurizing yet. It's not supposed to do that till we're like taking off, basically." And then everything I said happened. And then, anyways, Logan Paul was in hot water, and then he wasn't because he is a human with a dash cam on him at all times, I guess.
Yeah, dude, yeah, I mean if it wasn't for him doing his TV show, then he would have been fucked,
Really?
honestly.
Yeah.
Um because then it would have been just his word against the charter companies and I think after the whole Japan thing, I think
Yeah, I
he's
think.
kind of viewed with a bad light.
Well, it's not even just that. It's just in general. Like he did the feud videos or whatever with his brother Jake, where they were like always like arguing or fighting or X, Y, or Z, pranking each
Yeah.
other. Um, and then he's a wrestling star now or whatever, and a lot of people feel like that's like really like uh, fake, I guess, of him. I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, obviously, like wrestling is staged, but I think all of the like finger pointing definitely started way before the wrestling.
Oh,
Um,
long before
I
that.
mean, he definitely comes off as a little douchey. I've
Well,
listened to a lot of the Impulsive episodes. I think he's definitely matured a lot for sure.
yeah.
He's definitely not the same
It's
Logan
it's
that.
just he's got a lot of controversies under his belt. There's like the grape prime thing. There's the
Yeah.
Japanese forest thing. There's the fighting with his brother things. There's I don't know. There's a lot of like there's so many in fact that I don't even think I can like think of all of them.
Yeah.
Um there's one there's
The
one
crypto zoo thing.
oh yeah, yeah.
That's the big one. I
Um
think so. I think he probably, if it wasn't for the crypto zoo thing, he probably would have started being in a more positive light, and then that happened, and now everyone's
yeah.
kind of like, oh, well, you haven't changed. I
Yeah.
think that undid a lot of the good he had previously worked up for
Well,
himself.
and it's not just like there's still more. I mean, there was I forgot about the dead rats. They tasered rats. Do you remember that?
No, I fucking do not.
Yeah, he uploaded that to YouTube. Let's see. It says he pulled a live koi fish from the water and performed CPR on it by pressing repeatedly on its stomach. Um that's like animal cruelty stuff. Um then that was before the crypto zoo, and then there's the prime like the grape flavor or whatever being having what was it, some sort of chemical in it that
Lead or something like that. It was
nah,
something crazy.
some like plastic or something that you're not supposed to have in, which that whole thing was like I think that was blown out of the water way more than it needed to be. um but it got the flavor discontinued.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, the flavor did get removed at least.
Well, so from the way I've heard, this is I'm not am not science, but I've heard it described by the people who accused him of it, and I've heard him describe it himself. So somewhere between both of them is the truth. But basically, there was I don't know PCP or whatever the fuck forever chemical right in the grape prime. Um, and there it was there, like it's not like it was absent, but according to him it was in like such a small quantity that it was negligible unless you drank like the entire supply of grape primes in the world. um but I think the really the thing there was, we don't know how, like, did it get there because he was being like shady with how they were sourcing like ingredients, or was it the bottling company? Like, there's not enough information to like say why it was there. But it's funny because I don't think KSI caught any flack at all for this, just Logan Paul.
Yeah, I'm
And
pretty sure you're right.
yeah, and so it's because, for those of you who don't know, KSI is Logan Paul's business partner for the company Prime Energy
Or Prime.
and
Yeah.
Prime Hydration. Um, so they are. Oh, and that's another thing, is Prime is like kind of, there's a Prime freight shipping company that has almost an identical logo to the Prime logo. So I don't know. He's got a lot of things under his belt that make him look like a bad character. So if it was his word against the charter airlines, or the charter company's words for the airplane, they certainly would win that, because his track record is terrible.
Yeah. And I think that's what the airline company was doing. Yeah.
They're
Like,
probably banking on that, honestly.
yeah.
They might have even put that woman up to it and been like, hey, have him do this and then we'll make big money and you can have some of it. It could have been something like that, who knows. I would choose to believe that she wasn't put up to that, and just, but I don't know. Also, having a flight attendant who can't open the airline door, or the airplane door when it needs to be opened, is kind of crazy. So who knows what actually happened.
Yeah.
Hopefully it wasn't like a get rich quick off the celebrity sort of thing, but you never know. People do weird shit.
Well, as soon as he submitted the footage, they were like, "Oh, this is meritless. We're dropping the lawsuit."
Exactly. Well, because the whole grounds was that he did it without, like, they were originally claiming that he just did it because he's an awful person and doesn't know anything about airplanes, and he was trying to kill people or something.
Well,
Not exactly that, but like they said he was being reckless.
in the U.S., it is illegal for airline passengers to interfere with aircraft doors at any time, including before a flight.
Right. Because of
The
their
doors are
safety
considered,
devices.
yeah. So, um, I don't even think, technically speaking, even if the airline crew told him like, "Oh, hey, can you help me with this door?"
Well, but so that's the difference here, though, is he was not on a commercial airline plane.
Since it was chartered.
Yeah, it was a chartered plane through a company, so it's not an airline's aircraft, right? It's a private jet. Does it make sense?
It does, but I still don't think the private jet, like, even though it's a charter, it's still an airline, is it not?
Uh no, because it's like when you rent a limo or something.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you'll rent a limo through a company that they say I own a limo, for instance, right?
Yeah.
The charter company may contact me, a private individual, because I've given them my contact information, and be like,
Yeah.
hey, so and so needs a limo whenever, can we use your limo? And I'd be like, yes, you can use my limo, here's blah blah blah, set it up. And so we don't know who the actual aircraft belongs to. Maybe it belongs to the charter company, but it could also belong to XYZ. Like, it could be Jeff Bezos's plane.
Private charter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that it's like, because you're not using the limo all at all times of all, like, you're just not using it all the time, right? So like, make some passive income off of it. So I think that's how that's why it's important that the word charter is there, because they're they're not necessarily working with their own planes. They
Yeah,
might
that
be.
makes sense.
They could be, but they might not be. That's the caveat. And
That makes sense.
it doesn't say anywhere in the article who owns the plane, so
Yeah, it kept making reference to like it being a private charter.
yeah,
So it probably is Bezos.
sure.
So let's talk about Marathon, the game, not the exercise.
Actually, let's talk about the exercise for a second. Both of my
No,
sisters ran the Boston Marathon the year that they bombed it.
I said no more dark talk.
They're white. That's a meme.
Okay.
That's a meme. Maybe a off-color meme. Oh, I didn't mean it like that. But my one sister, her finish time for a marathon was right around the time the bomb went off, and that had my dad and I a little scared because it went off at like 3 hours and like 54 minutes or something, and that was like her previous like 2 years running the marathon like that time. And we were like, uh-oh. But I don't remember what happened that year, but for some reason she was nowhere near it when it went off. So
Well, that's good.
yeah.
I didn't know that. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know how close to home that hit for you. Wow.
Yeah, you would. I mean, it's in Boston and I live nowhere near there. Makes sense though.
Okay.
What?
Yeah. Not literal close to home, but yeah, sure.
No, I mean, no, because why would me living in a different state have any like, I mean, close to home meaning like anyone I know, like it's unlikely I knew anyone in it, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, but
I'm just surprised this is the first time it's come up in 10 plus years.
Fair. I don't know. It's not worth mentioning most of the time. I mean, you have to mention marathons first, and then I'm like, oh yeah, speaking of marathons, the Boston Marathon, the most famous of all of the marathons, I think. Yo, is marathon? Is there an Olympic marathon?
I don't know enough. I don't know enough about the Olympics to tell you. I don't know.
I don't know enough about marathons to tell you. How far is a marathon? Do you know that?
No. But you should know since your sister runs in them.
True. I think it's 26 and some miles.
What's the end sum? That's important.
Yeah, it might just be 26 miles flat. Let's look it up.
I can say with confidence I will never be running a marathon.
It's 26.2188 miles. So we'll just say 26.22. We'll round up.
I will not be running any marathons except for Marathon the game on my computer. I will run that at some point.
Will it run well on your computer though? Someone I was talking to today actually said that they're thinking Marathon will be next gen only. Yeah, so it won't be on PS4 or Xbox One.
Well, that's good.
That
It probably
good.
shouldn't be.
But well, so when Daniel and I were talking about it, we were wondering if it was because it's for current gen, right? But
Yeah.
it's not for like the new upgraded like PS5 Pro. And so we were wondering if on console it was going to be hard locked to like 30 FPS. Because
Is Destiny 2? I don't remember. It's not, right?
on console, I think it is.
Sounds like a skill issue for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, all their cutscenes are still 30 FPS. No, even on PC, it drops you to 30 FPS to watch their cutscenes. That's just how they do cutscenes.
That gives me a headache.
Yeah. After looking at a crisp 270 all day, looking at 30 is gross. I feel like I'm watching a stop motion video.
It's jarring, yeah.
It's
It's not pleasant for your brain, eyes, soul, heart, mind. None of that.
Which,
It's
speaking of,
not a good time.
apparently dogs don't understand that there's like a video playing unless the FPS is like 160 or higher or something like that. I don't remember the exact number, but it was a number that like most TVs don't display. I was like,
What
huh.
do you think? What type of video do you think a dog would want to watch?
That fucking brain rot cat video.
Ooh, yeah, ooh, yeah.
That's the one. Okay, so on PS5 and Xbox Series X, Destiny 2 will run 60 FPS. And Crucible specifically can hit 120. Which I guess that's kind of nice that it'll hit 120 in Crucible.
Yeah,
But
I guess.
it also says that on the previous gen consoles, PS4 and Xbox One, it was basically capped at 30 FPS. There's a good chance though that it doesn't run. It might just be capped at 60 FPS, which would kind of still be ass for console players.
That would be ass. Ass, ass, ass,
I
ass,
also
ass.
am not sure if they're doing crossplay or not, so maybe it doesn't matter. I don't think they announced if they were doing crossplay. Destiny has crossplay. Most games coming out these days that have multiplayer have crossplay. It would make sense for them to have crossplay, but at the same time, because of the subject matter and the way the game plays, it might not make sense for them to have crossplay as well.
Yeah.
Because
Um.
I mean, either you have so another thing Daniel was saying was that it might have bullet magnetism for mouse, which
That is a
means
crazy word.
yeah, so um that's just crazy because it means you don't have to be pixel perfect to hit shots. Um which
Bullet
could,
magnetism.
yeah, it could make mouse the superior input. It's difficult to balance the two inputs, and I almost feel like sometimes you should just split them and not let them play with each other. It splits the community pretty bad, and mouse community generally doesn't have enough players to ever find a match. Um, but controller players are either, in the case of like Call of Duty, they either have a huge advantage because of aim assist is so strong, or in other games where aim assist is not so strong, they have a huge disadvantage because it's much easier to manipulate a mouse than it is to manipulate a right stick, a right thumbstick. Um, yeah, I'm interested to see how they're gonna handle that.
I am too. I also. So, what was your thoughts on like the reveal? Because you watched like all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I did.
It's been getting a lot of flack.
Flack, you say? There's one thing that, so I watched the review, the reveal. Hello, words, mouth. There's this animation that plays, which if you watch the trailer ends with it 4 times in a row actually, where it's like a person on top of another. They're called runners, they're the characters, and the runner is stabbing another runner like in the, like right here, and it's
Yeah.
like the execution animation for finishing like a downed player. And apparently it's the only one they thought of because it's the only one they played. And so it's the only animation for finishing a down character as far as I know. And I'm already sick of the animation. Daniel thought it was stupid that I'm sick of the animation already because there's so many games where there's repeated animations like that. But it's just the fact of how often they repeated the animation that I get sick of seeing the same animation over and over and over again. So like and games as far back as like Far Cry 2 thought of this. So in Far Cry 2, you would get injured, right? And then you would heal yourself, and the heal animation was always on your arms because that's what you can see. You can see your arms, right? And
Yeah.
so they had a thing where there's one where you're wrapping a bandage on your hand. There's one where you're pulling like a shard of glass out of your arm. There's one where you're patting fire off of your arms. There's one where you're picking a bullet out of your skin or something. Like, they had a good amount of animations, and it would just play one of them, right? As far back as Far Cry 2, okay? And now we're here looking at Marathon, and what's the execution animation? Thunk. Every time. Same animation, no matter what. I think default Warzone had different animations per what, like if you had a character, they had different animations you could use for executing a downed player. In vanilla Warzone, right, that came out in 2020, like I feel like it's criminal, honestly, to have one animation.
Well, okay, but it's still an alpha state, though. I don't think that is necessarily worth getting hung up on. If it releases and there still isn't any different animations, I agree with you.
Well, knowing Bungie, either there won't be any other animations and they're gonna say that it's a balance thing, so that it's always the same speed, it always takes the same amount of time, because the
Or they're
game
gonna
is
charge for
very
'em.
yeah, or they're going to charge microtransaction money for new animations. Again, like it's not the biggest deal. I don't really care that much that it's the same animation, but it's how proud they seem of that animation and how much they showed it off during the showcase. I started counting at some point, and within like a 3-minute span, I saw it like 8 or 9 times, which, like, I don't want to, like, huh? Why am I watching the same animation 8 or 9 times in 3 minutes? Like, it's too much. It's ridiculous.
Maybe it feels really good to do, and that's why the person that
I don't
they
even
were
want to do it.
viewing kept doing it.
I've seen it so many times. I'm sick of it. I'm already sick of it. Before I've even played the game, I don't want to see the animation because they played it so fucking much in the reveal.
Yeah.
I don't know what the running hands animation looks like on your own screen. I don't know what any of the reload animations look like. I know what this looks like though, and I'm fucking tired of it already, dude. It's like the fact that they ruined an animation like that in the reveal is fucking stupid. I don't care if you put it in the thing, put it in the thing, but don't put it in the thing where it's like the star of the show.
Yeah. That's fair.
I think the UI is disgusting. They made it look like this janky ass, like 8-bit sort of looking. It's like Tarkov UI kind of, but it's like, I'd say it's less like Tarkov and more like Delta Force, like the Delta Force extraction shooter thing, where like there's loot and the loot has a square behind it, of like a colored square that tells you, I guess, the rarity or maybe the quality of loot, or it's either the quality of loot or the type of loot, or I don't know exactly what it depicts, but there's a color and it's just like a block color, very, and the colors are very like pastel for how like colorful the rest of the art and stuff is.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think like the actual looting UI doesn't look good. It doesn't look good to look at, and it just kind of looks like some like vector shapes stacked on top of like a colored box. I don't know. It's not.
Yeah. So that was like one of the biggest issues I saw people talking about, was like how artistic it is. And Marathon also, if you don't know, was an original IP from Microsoft in like the fucking 90s. It is a really old shooter, really old, and they're randomly reviving it but giving it a new fresh spin. Um and so my thing is, if you're going to revive a name or like an IP, why do such a drastic art change? Because there's going to be people that did play or do remember the original, and that's going to be kind of jarring for them. It's
Yeah,
Bungie. They're usually pretty good with like their shooting mechanics and whatnot. So like
the
I'm kind
shooting
of
looked
looking
fun.
forward to
Like
it.
it looked fun to shoot. Looked like the TTK wasn't insane. Like it didn't look like it was, you couldn't kill someone, and it didn't look like you instantly killed someone. It looked pretty good in that regard. So I think for that, like I think the gameplay in that sense will be good. Um, I'm just worried about how what they're doing with like friction. Not friction like friction, but like how they're gonna make the game have friction. So like friction between other players and the AI and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, because they're taking some of the elements out that would be in like Tarkov, for instance, which is a like I wouldn't even say Tarkov is the most hardcore extraction shooter necessarily, but you know, it has parts on your guns and like you have durability, right? And then you
Yeah.
have healing that you have to do. And so you have to have like the right meds or the right healing items for whatever injury. And then some injuries, you know, like obviously you can't treat it because you know you broke a fucking leg. Like you're not going to heal that just by fucking putting a bandage on it, right?
Yeah.
And then um there's like different ammo types and like different like a lot of different ammo types, and they all do like different things, and some are better for some things and some are better for other things. And then there's like eating and drinking where you have to like survive, right? You have to stay hydrated and you have to keep your food up or whatever. And so like there's all these like systems, and each of those systems makes friction within the game, which you know that's a lot of hardcore players who play extraction shooters are really into that sort of like really like friction thing. And it's like you die, you lose everything, right? Like that's it.
Yeah.
That's friction. That's what I'm talking about when I say friction. And when you look at Marathon, there's no, as far as I know, there's no food or water. The healing is you stab yourself in the arm and you're healed. Like it's a health bar, right? There's no individual like your arm got shot, you need to heal your arm. So there's no friction for healing. There's no friction for food and water. I don't think there was different ammo types, so there's no friction for ammo. Um, like what other systems? Like if you die, you lose everything. Sure, but then they were saying, oh, but there's like sponsored kits that you can take, so you can get like a mid-game kit like every hour or something from like a sponsor, so you can go back into the game and be viable against like kitted kids. And that's like there's no friction there. So like it's really interesting because they're basically taking what is a more or less hardcore genre of game, which is the extraction shooter, and they're watering it down to where it doesn't even look like an extraction shooter anymore. It almost looks like an arcade game where like you put a quarter in the machine and you play and you get as far as you can get, and if you die you just put another quarter in. And I think that's one of those things that I wonder if they're so concentrated on trying to get like new players into that space and appeal to too many people that they're gonna have a really lemon of a game. Because like even people criticize like Gray Zone Warfare, for instance, for having too little friction, and that's just because you can redeploy and go get your stuff back.
Yeah.
Like you still have to eat, you still have to treat injuries, you still have to like you still have to have know what ammo does what, you still have weapon durability, and they're still building the game, right? It's not a complete game. But like people who play Tarkov look at that game and they say, well, you can just go get your stuff back on a helicopter. It's not really that hardcore. It's like Tarkov with training wheels, right? So Marathon being it's got like extra training wheels, right? So I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna end up being a good or a bad thing for the game in the long run.
Um. Well, so here's the thing with Tarkov though. That's Tarkov's like evolving. Um. So you could very seldomly. I never had it happen to me. One of my buddies I would play the game with, I did have it happen to him, but sometimes if you redeployed as a scav, you would get into your previous game as a PMC. Um and so you'd be able to get your stuff back if you didn't get looted by your killer. But that was like pure luck. Whereas in like obviously Gray Zone, you just redeploy it like it's like, you're in the same world all the time
Yeah.
until you quit the game and then reload in.
Well, and that's the other thing is like in Gray Zone, for instance, there was no reason to loot someone you killed, because when you kill them, their gear takes damage. And you don't want to be holding extra shit because then now you're weighed down.
Yeah.
So when Dank and I PvP'd in the game, we did it for like 2 hours one day. We were just sitting on the same hill shooting the same guys as they're getting off the helicopter for like 2 hours. Like we were basically just camping their helicopter spawn. We weren't doing it necessarily on purpose, but there were like five or so guys who kept flying back in on like a fucking regular schedule, and we would just like murder them. And sometimes they would come in kitted and sometimes they would come in not kitted, but I never looted anything from them. If they broke like my helmet or something, I would go pick up like one of their dead bodies' helmets if it was better than mine. But for the most part, like I wasn't picking their gun up. I took their ammo, but like there was no reason to take any. Like I didn't need their rig.
Any of the gear.
Yeah, I didn't need their rig or their backpack or any of that stuff. And I was just using stuff that if I died, I didn't care anyway. So in that regard, I understand there's the like training wheels or whatever. But yeah, I don't know about Marathon, how they're going to do that, or if there's going to be a chance to recover your own gear or not.
Well, so like I know with your runners, those are like characters or whatever, and you're gonna have like some sort of ability or something. But is there gonna be like gear? I know there's like rarities, so like I know at least guns, but is there gonna be like armor and stuff, or has that not been shown yet, really, or said?
There's at least different types of armor. I don't know how the armor system works, but there's been, I've seen different characters. They'll have like a yellow or a blue, like I think it's pink or blue, maybe, I don't know. They have a different color like bar above their health bar, which looks
Okay.
like the Call of Duty plate system.
Okay.
Honestly, it looks kind of like the Apex shield system is what it looks like. So I don't know if those shields regenerate over time, or like it's the health bar of your armor and like the better color is like the better rarity, or what specifically on that it's tracking. And
Okay.
then I also don't think, I mean, there's not localized like injury, like wounds and stuff. So there's not because there's not that, there's not like shooting someone in the legs isn't going to make them
Walk or unable
walk.
to sprint.
Well, so I think what they said is that if you do shoot someone in the legs, it will slow them down or whatever, but like you can just hit a med kit and your legs are fine again. So I don't know. I'm kind of excited for it, but at the same time, like I'm not holding my breath because it's Bungie's first extraction shooter, and they just came off of making a really long and bad MMO. Like a Destiny 2 is good. Vanilla Destiny 2, like the core, I shouldn't say vanilla because the original vanilla D2 was actually kind of shit. But like the core systems in Destiny 2 are pretty good, but the gameplay loop has had good highs and like really bad lows. And currently it's not in the best place. And they've just ended, they had like a 10-year plan for the game, and that's just ended, and they've moved into like the unplanned territory where they when they originally made Destiny, they haven't, like, I mean, I'm sure they've been planning this for some years, but it's they had
From the
an
inception,
initial,
it wasn't mapped out.
they had an initial like blueprint of 10 years, and that's what the game was going to be. And so they're just coming off of that, off of developing, they had made Halo, which was like a shooter, and it was like very arcadey but like story focused, and then they moved into Destiny, which was like an MMO which kind of had a story but it was kind of not great. And then it, like, the story, I don't know, it was like a B tier story. It was like not amazing, but it wasn't terrible, but it's just like generic. And then the expansions kind of made it better. I think the expansions were actually kind of what made Destiny so good, because you'd get an expansion, you get some fresh content, you get the fresh weapons, you get some fresh story. Like they would add a lot to every facet of the game because there's so many different things you could do in Destiny. But I think they really lost touch with what made their game like unique and good, and they kind of just fell into the MMO money grabbing sort of shenanigans that Activision has been known for, honestly. So
True.
I don't know. I don't know how Marathon looks fun. Um, I'm definitely gonna try it when it comes out. I'm excited to try it.
I
At the
am
very
too.
least, but I like I said, I'm not holding my breath because I hope it's amazing. I hope it's the best game that we ever play, and that's just what we do, right? Like
Until GTA 6.
exactly for like a week. We're gonna play Marathon for like a week because GTA 6. Um, I hope it's really good, but we'll see. Bungie's been on the decline, and I think a lot of people when they think of Bungie, like, oh yeah, they made Halo 1 and 2, like they're awesome. I think they made Halo 3 too, didn't they?
They did. It was after 3 or after Reach.
I don't
I'm
remember.
pretty sure.
But people think of Bungie and they're like, oh yeah, they made Halo. Halo was so good. And you know,
Yeah, Reach was the last Bungie.
but I don't know. It's I feel like they've been really on the decline for the last couple years.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely have. Dude, I mean, I recently, well, not recently anymore, but I like streamed um the Halo games. Um
That
I
actually
don't think
was
they're as
probably
good
about a
as
year ago.
probably about 2 years ago now,
Was it?
roughly. I
Oh
did
shit.
I think. It's been a hot minute ago now. They I there's a lot of media that has a crazy cult following. Like I think Harry Potter does. I think Halo does. Halo was not that great to me. I could see to where it sucks playing stuff like that late because I think probably for its time it was really great and then people just have rose tinted glasses. But like Halo Reach is super hyped up and talked about to be this great game, but it's like going in, you know how it's going to play out. And
Yeah.
I think that alone kind of sets it up to not be that good, in
Well,
my opinion.
as someone who played the first Halo, like when it came out, um, there was not many things better in gaming back then than doing like booting couch co-op up and playing through the campaign with your friend and like seeing how quick you guys could run through it, or you could run through using like one gun, or like you only use melees or something stupid like that, and making like challenges for yourself. Like there were no trophies back then, there were no achievements, there was nothing like that. So it was just basically you guys were playing the game and then you were making the game fun because you were doing things, you were imposing rules on yourselves basically. Um but when you play the game just by itself for playing the game, it's kind of empty.
Yeah.
Um and like I don't think like as it's a standalone game, like the first Halo as a standalone is not amazing. Halo 2 is much better. But even then the story is like very generic. I mean the levels are good, but it's just like everything takes like a very generic turn. The writing's not great. Um and there's like funny things like if you harass like the Marines, they say things to you or whatever, and then they have like the twist where you're playing as the Arbiter also, and that's kind of like interesting, gives you like another side and another story of whatever, and you find out that like the real bad guys are the fucking priests or whatever, and the story has like some twists and stuff to it. So 2 had a better story at least, but I even on 2 I feel like my best memories of playing that was playing with a friend and like doing stupid
Co-op.
things like
Hmm.
yeah, it was co-op and it was doing dumb things like jumping on each other's heads to fucking like skip part of a level, and you'd end up spending like an hour doing that, and then you'd skip like 5 minutes worth of the story when you could have just played it like 5 times over in that same amount of time. It I don't know.
Yeah.
There's like some level skip with like the swords and jumping on each other's heads and a rocket or something. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while. But yeah, it's I don't know.
I feel like I'm a little too critical of stuff. Um,
I definitely am.
but yeah, I it if everyone I talk to hype something up in my mind, I'm like, okay, it's got to be really fucking good. And then it's like, however the media is, I consume it, and then I even so I'll do this negatively, but I also do this positively. Like if I keep hearing it's good, I'll kind of go into it with the mindset of like, oh, I'm gonna love this. Same thing with like hating it. I'll go into it with the mindset of, oh, I'm gonna hate this. But I'm pretty good at actually being able to form my own opinion.
Yeah.
And so if it actually is good or if it actually is bad, I'm like, what the fuck? This sucks.
Yeah, that's why I kind of like Morbius. Morbius is kind of a sleeper, dude.
It's Morbin time, dude.
Yeah, exactly. It's not even like a good, like it's not a great film by any stretch of the imagination, but like people were downplaying it so hard. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of that just people hate Jared Leto.
He's a great musician though.
Sure. Um
Huh? Going like 30 seconds to Mars?
no. Um it's like In and Out. The fast food chain In and Out.
Yeah.
If you go to an In and Out, dude, it's everyone's like In and Out's the best fast food restaurant in America. Like
Yeah.
so many
I have
people
heard
say
that a
that.
lot.
Yeah. And if you go into an In and Out thinking this is the best fast food chain in America, you are going to be so fucking disappointed. I swear you will be mad that people have been lying to you. I promise you.
I mean, dude.
But if you go to an In and Out burger and you don't know anything about it and you're just hungry and you're like, hey, here's a place, let me go there, and you try it, perspective is immediately different. Like, damn, this is
Yeah.
fucking good for fast food. What the shit? Where's this been my whole life? And now it's you go in not knowing and it's like, damn, this is good. You know, you go in thinking it's the best shit ever and you're like, bro, there's nothing special about this. Like
You have
it's
BurgerFi where you live?
huh? No.
BurgerFi? So they
But
make like smash burgers, and that's a really freaking good burger.
yeah, so that was just an example though. Like a lot of I feel like a lot of things get way overhyped and they don't deserve it because I
Yeah.
go and I play it and it's like but then there's a lot of things that like people are like, oh dude, that thing sucks, and then I play it and it's like it's not that bad actually.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but Bungie's been making some fucking dog shit lately, so who knows. Probably gonna just make
True.
more dog shit is typical of Bungie's the new Ubisoft. I think they fucking
Typical bungo.
yeah, exactly. They had a formula and it worked one time 20 years ago, and now they're just trying to fucking catch that lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, they're just repainting that same noodle and slapping it on the wall.
Exactly.
Speaking of noodles and slapping, RuneScape is developing their own survival game, or has developed, I guess I should say. It is
Well,
it is currently out.
I mean, well, it's in early access. They shadow dropped it of all things. With the announcement was, hey, we just put this game into early access. By the way, which is crazy. I don't know that anyone even knew about it prior to it shadow dropping. I think some people had like had a play test or like a beta test at some point in the past, so like people knew it existed, but like I don't think anyone knew, like they had no idea what the time frame was or when it was gonna drop or anything like that. It was just like, hey, we shadow dropped it, it's early access, boom.
What is it called? Dragon Wilds?
Dragon Wilds, yeah. And so it's like a Valheim-esque game where you gather resources and build a base and then upgrade your gear. um I watched a video about it of like someone's early thoughts. I guess the gameplay progression right now is kind of you can't get too far in the actual story because there is a story, and the world is not procedurally generated. It is handcrafted. So, for replayability, I feel like that kind of diminishes some aspects of replayability. Granted, Sons of the Forest and The Forest are both not procedurally generated. They are handcrafted maps, but they're quite large. And it's like it has okay replayability. You join someone else's world and you're building a fucking log cabin in the mountains or down by the beach or whatever.
Yeah, being able to build stuff, I feel like helps with that aspect a little bit.
But like you can start a new game, spawn in, and just walk to the shotgun and have a shotgun. In that regard, like it kind of sucks. So, but it's a RuneScape game, which I don't know if you ever played the original RuneScape, which
Never.
was a web browser game. I played it at the public library on the public. I had a library card, and I paid $5 extra for my library card. I think they were free, but you could pay $5 to have a library card that would allow you to use their computers. And I would go and it would let you use it for 1 hour. And I would go with my friend and we'd walk to the library and we'd fucking use our $5 library cards to play RuneScape for an hour.
Could you watch porn?
Immediately would get you kicked out of the library. You'd get your card rescinded and it would get you banned from the library.
Lame.
Sure. That dude, I learned how scummy people are playing that game.
Scummy wummy.
I had taken a hiatus of some sort for a while, and then I had gotten back on the game, and there was a market system in the game they had added at some point to protect unsuspecting people like myself, but they had added new features, and I was unaware of the new features. And some dude was like, "Oh, I'll buy whatever from you, but hold on, we have to go over here." And I followed him, and he takes me to this place where I died, and then it dropped the item I was trying to trade on the ground, and he just stole it. Yeah, he just stole it from me. And they would do that shit all over the place. It was just like people who are shitty people taking advantage of like children who didn't know what the fuck they were doing. So I don't know, but RuneScape was one of those games where you would have skills of a bunch of different random shit, and you could focus entirely all on one skill if you wanted to, or you could do all your skills, or but it was a time sink for sure, and it was very repetitive. And the actual gameplay itself was not very gameplay. The game played itself sort of. You would like right click things and then left click on the option in the dialog box that would come up, and then your character would do whatever. So in that regard, it was kind of more like you had to have reflexes of some sort, but it was kind of like you were watching like I don't know, pick your own adventure sort of thing. So anyways, the new game is a survival game, which is off of the MMO path completely. And
yeah, completely.
It it's got crafting, and it's got like wood cutting, which is like when people think of RuneScape, they think of cutting trees down, because that's like one of the first ways you start making money is you cut trees down. So you got your wood cutting skill, and it's got like magic, and it's got like its own like version of magic. So you have spells, but they cost runes, and then whatever, etc., etc. It's very based in the RuneScape world. And this is one of the first games they've made in a long time.
Is it still the same company that made OG
Yes.
RuneScape? Yep. It is. Okay.
Yeah, they're called Jagex.
It sounds like a fucking airplane company or something.
So it's interesting that they are doing that seemingly randomly, by the way. But like I said, it's like Enshrouded, it's like Valheim. You have crafting. From what I was hearing though, is the stacks of items don't go high enough. It only goes to like 50. And then it has a lot of like the chest organization is kind of like Minecraft. You put things in a chest and it's just willy-nilly. However, which I guess there's a lot of survival games like that. Ark is like that. um Rust is like that. It's not like there's dedicated chests for dedicated types of items. You just like throw your shit wherever there's a box, right? um so I'm not too upset about that, but I guess the chests are not big and you end up with chests just all over. Like you have a room that's your treasure room or whatever, that's all your
Yeah.
fucking shit. Which is not that weird in that type of game, but it's kind of, for a game coming out right now when they've implemented better systems in more recent games, it is kind of crazy.
Yeah. So it just came out April 15th. I was a little curious at the numbers to see, with them shadow dropping it, to see how sustainable not marketing your game would be. Just out of curiosity. 11 minutes ago, there was 22,000 people playing. All-time peak was 52,000. So not bad, honestly. I mean, for shadow dropping your
Look up,
game.
do me a favor, look up the all-time peak right now for Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Um,
Now,
so real quick, RuneScape's that's more than OG RuneScape. Um, OG RuneScape's, well, sorry, just RuneScape's all-time peak is 12,500. So,
well,
completely blown that out the water.
it's important to note that in OG RuneScape, you could play it in your web browser. Most people were not playing it on Steam.
On Steam, yeah.
And it's also important to note that whatever number he's about to pull up for Shadows, Assassin's Creed Shadows, is Steam only. So it doesn't
Also
include consoles. And there's probably for whatever Steam is, there's probably twice as many on PS5 and Xbox.
I would imagine, yeah.
For that game. And this new RuneScape game is PC only. So with those things in mind, what are the numbers for that?
All-time peak for Shadows, 64,627. 24-hour peak is 15,000. And playing 13 minutes ago, 6,604.
So
So,
less than RuneScape.
Less than RuneScape, a non-marketed
But
early
overall
access.
peak 10,000 more.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, so the game's early access also. So versus a
Sure.
AAA title that is released. I don't know. It's interesting to look at those numbers and to compare them. I don't think comparing those two really does anything because, like I said, there's at least easily double the numbers on PS5 and Xbox concurrently.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's still interesting to know, like RuneScape was literally just they just dropped it on the store and was like,
right.
hey, it's available.
They just pushed it out. They didn't say, hey, we're dropping it next week. They didn't say anything like that. They were just like, boom. Which is an interesting strategy that Bethesda might be borrowing here, potentially.
Hopefully. We might honestly be mere hours from the dropping of the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remaster is what they're calling it. They're calling it a remaster, even though it is actually more of a remake.
Well,
Usually,
we'll see.
that's true. Nothing is confirmed yet. That's a fair point.
But like he said, I was gonna say like I said, but you said all that.
For same person.
You, the viewer, or listener, however you're consuming this podcast, might be playing Oblivion while you're watching this. It might be out already when we release this.
That is true.
And that's interesting to think about.
I genuinely hope it is. I actually never played Oblivion when it originally came out.
Missed out.
So I did, but maybe not for long. So my Bethesda gaming was like a really weird order. So like I played I played Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and then I played Skyrim. And then I tried going back to play Oblivion because I'd always heard Oblivion was really fucking good. And let me tell you, I could easily go back and play Fallout 3 after playing Fallout New Vegas. I can even go back and play Fallout 3 after playing Fallout 4. Going back to Oblivion and trying to play that after playing Skyrim was jarring. Honestly, if it wasn't for the really just the crosshair and like the UI and like the HUD, I probably would be okay. The game fundamentally plays the same as Skyrim, but there's a lot of mechanics that are way, 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 way different.
It's funny you bring that up because when I was talking about the friction earlier in extraction shooters, think of Oblivion as being gray zone, and Skyrim is like the marathon streamlined for fucking what do we want to call them? Casuals.
RPGs.
Yeah, for casuals, Skyrim was the game for casuals, right? Morrowind is like the Tarkov of the series. We're not going to talk about the first two Elder Scrolls games. There's a lot I can say about them, but I haven't played either of them. Like the fact that Daggerfall, for instance, is the largest map ever in a video game, or some ridiculous metric like that, or second largest. But it's mostly just empty canvas.
Yeah, it's crazy. It still holds that attribute too. That's crazy to think about.
But the thing about Oblivion, and it does have a lot of more mechanics, not necessarily more mechanics, but it's got more systems in it, and then more I wouldn't even say systems, but it's got more in depth. I don't know how to say it. It's more complex. Skyrim is like the watered down action version, right? To go back to that, and Morrowind's the actual horror spooky movie. So Oblivion's like the middle ground between those two things. If I had to put it in a different analogy or different metaphor or whatever I'm doing here, I would say that Morrowind plays very much like D&D, where every time you swing, you roll a die, and you can either hit or miss. And your skills, when you level them up, make you better at hitting, right? Oblivion took that away. If you connect with the target, you connect with the target, right? Your skills affect how much damage you're dealing. And so in that sense, it's a vast improvement over Morrowind as far as combat. But it locked things behind skill levels. So you couldn't do like a side charge attack, basically, where you would be moving sideways and then input attack, do that attack, unless you were journeyman or something. They're different. They had different names, like apprentice. It was like novice, apprentice, journeyman, expert, master. And I think the difficulty levels are labeled like that too still, in like even Skyrim. But if I don't know, it was just very interesting how that worked, and how those systems worked. So you missed out on a very complex but satisfying RPG, and I feel like a lot of people, maybe this is just me, I think a lot of people think Oblivion is one of the stronger Elder Scrolls, if not the strongest.
Oh no, I definitely have heard that for sure.
Skyrim is definitely good, and it did a lot of good things for the franchise, but I think
I know you really like Skyrim.
What?
I said I know you really like Skyrim.
Yeah, Skyrim might be my most played game ever.
Damn.
Yeah. The thing is about Skyrim is there's only so many things to do, and I've done all of them. I mean, Oblivion is also like that, and I've done most of the things in Oblivion. I've spent a significantly less amount of time in Oblivion than I have Skyrim. I've beaten the main story a couple times, and I've finished all the faction quests a couple times. But there's a bunch of little like miscellaneous tasks and other things you can do, and like There's other things like min-maxing your character, which if you're really into that, you can do that. Um, there's like you can do like hardcore like role play sort of things. You can do that in Skyrim too, where you impose your own restrictions on yourself. But Oblivion is one of those games that the base story is pretty good, and then the base like faction stories are all pretty good. There's not too many instances, I would say, where it's like it was kind of I saw that twist coming or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of side quests that have their own little like contained story within them, and I kind of like that. That like each like to enter the mages college in Skyrim, you just walk up to it and cast a spell, and then you're in basically, and then you have to do like a couple tasks, and it's not very difficult. In Oblivion, to get into what the college is the Mages Guild, you have to go around to all the different towns and do something for the like guild leader, and then you can get a letter of approval from them or whatever. And all of those quests are like their own self-contained like story with like characters, plot, like it's really a unique sort of like thing. And I feel like Skyrim kind of lost that in a lot of quests, because a lot of quests in Skyrim are just like go to this place, kill the boss, loot the chest, and you're done.
Oh
And
no, another Draugr cave.
yeah, that exactly. And I think I mean there's a lot of goblin caves and stuff in Oblivion, but I will say, now that you said the Draugr cave thing, going into the plane of Oblivion, that because there's all these gates everywhere, these Oblivion gates, going into those and closing those is arduous, stupid, and I hate it. That's a thing that's not fun. That is definitely a negative against the game. But I think for the most part, it's a pretty good. When it's your first time doing it, it's okay, and you can ignore most of them except for the story related ones. But even if you just do the story ones, they get old kind of quick. Because they're almost always the same. You go into this dungeon, everything is red, everything is hostile. Um, Everything's dusty and red, and then you walk around, you find an orb, and you fucking touch it, and then the whole thing blows up. Basically, yada yada. That's the short and the long of it. And there's only so many ways they can make a small contained area using the assets available to them at the time, and have a little orb somewhere that you have to touch that blows it up. Uh, so in that regard, that part I will say about Oblivion is kind of ass. Um, if I was gonna say it as anything like Skyrim, think of like doing the word walls, going into a dungeon to find the word wall, and then the result is like the same sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
Oblivion's voice acting is like almost humorously bad. It's not that the voice acting itself is bad, it's that the switches. There's so many videos where this woman's like, I will never talk to you or whatever, and then you interact with her and she's like, hello, how are you doing today? And so like there's things like that. And I don't know, there's like the guard is like heavily memed because like there's like only one guard voice for all the guards. Like all the guards have the same voice, and they all say the same thing. So, and there's a lot of voice actors who play multiple characters, which they do that in Skyrim also. So it's not like it hasn't happened. In fact, they do it in the Fallout games too. uh and I get it, there's hundreds of NPCs and they're trying to like have each one be uniquely voice acted.
Yeah, it's kind of hard when you have
Yeah.
so many.
But I enjoy Oblivion. I feel like Oblivion is more lived in and alive than Skyrim. And I think the reason for that is the dynamic NPC, like they interact with each other, but it's not
Yeah.
scripted. Like they like in Skyrim, for instance, there's two NPCs who will talk to each other, but they have the same conversation every day at the exact same time. And so that's kind of like weird, right? in Oblivion, the NPCs follow their own routes on different days. They might run into like or get stuck on something or run into different people, and then these two NPCs walk by each other, and boom! All of a sudden, now they're having a conversation, and they've never talked to each other before, and they might say the same shit that they always say, but like that sort of interaction just made it feel more like alive, you know?
Yeah.
And so I feel like the world feels lived in more than well, at least in the towns anyway. Another criticism is all the towns are kind of small. There's like a max of 10 buildings in each town that you can go into. But I mean, the game is really limited by when it came out, I think. The Imperial City doesn't really feel like much of a city at all. It feels like a castle. But I don't know. I think there's enough little like compartments and things and stuff to do that it overall is a great game, and it holds your hand a little more than Morrowind. In Morrowind, it was they basically took tabletop gaming in Morrowind, and that's what Morrowind is. So you'll talk to a quest giver in Morrowind, right? And they'll give you a quest, and you'll write down the notes for the quest in a journal. And you have a map, and you have a journal, but you don't necessarily have waypoints marked on your map. You know, modern games, they all have the compass, right? And then they have waypoints everywhere, so you can walk to your nearest destination. And Oblivion does have a compass, but Morrowind, for instance, I think they had a compass, but it didn't have like waypoints unless you set them or you're really close to them. But for the most part, it'd be like, it would tell you how to get to a place. And if you've never been there, it's not on your map. And you would have to read your notes and be like, oh, okay, so you follow the stream until you hit the fork in the road. And then you take the left fork and you follow that until you hit the road sign, and then you go right. And you'd have to really like memorize how to get places and travel that way. And
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. Hello, bloody nose or something? Hold on. Maybe not. Maybe just runny nose. Sorry. There's liquid coming out of my face. It's just boogers or something. But so yeah, I'm excited for a Oblivion remake, but it's kind of interesting the timing that it seems like they're just out of the blue almost. But Sky Oblivion, which is a modding project done by modders, is getting very, very, very close to completion, where they wanted an updated Oblivion. They wanted Oblivion on like modern Skyrim is quite outdated at this point, like gaming engine. And so they've been modding the entirety of Oblivion into Skyrim's engine, into Skyrim as a Skyrim mod. And they're very close to completion. Like maybe in a year they could put it out. And so I just think it's funny that they're like, hey, by the way, we remade Oblivion before you. Yeah, fuck.
They haven't said that yet though.
Right.
Which I'm sure the fucking people behind that mod are probably like, I'm sure as soon as like the leaks started happening, and then like the past couple of weeks now that that it's seeming like Oblivion remake or remasters like really fucking imminent. I'm sure they just have a pit in their stomach because they're just like, man, fuck, all these years essentially about to be for waste.
Well, the guy who's been working on that has been working on it for like, I think like, I want to say it's been like 11 years.
That would suck.
I don't know. Hold on, it might not be that long. It might only be like 7 or something.
But still, though, more than a year, which would suck. Like even losing a year's worth of your work, or having a year's worth of your work, just fucking pretty much gonna now. So it could go one of two ways, though. They could drop it and it suck, and then the mod end up saving the day.
Yeah,
that could happen. Maybe.
So here's the thing, Sky Oblivion. They slated their release for 2025. by the way.
Get
And
fucked
yeah, which is they
today.
say
Today's 2025.
so they said they were quoted, the team was quoted saying they promise a 2025 release date at the latest. So, but I think they still probably have about a year worth of work. I watched a video on it recently. They've been working on it since 2012.
That is Spain.
Yeah. Okay. So 3 months ago, uh,
Didn't Skyrim come out in 2012?
the year before that.
Okay. Damn. So like right after the game, like once they fucking wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. I think Skyrim came out in 2011. I'm pretty sure. Cause yeah,
Is it just a single fella?
It started as a single fella who he has a team. Which, by the way, they're not getting paid at all because it's literally illegal for them to make money off of it. So they are doing it as a passion project, volunteering their time for the community because they want to see it done and they think other people would want to see it done too.
So I hear you, brother. But it's been 13 fucking years, man.
Well, so here's the thing. He posted, the project lead posted 3 months ago. Sky Oblivion is on track to release this year, meaning 2025. And he just needs like a couple things. He's like, we just need a couple things to get done and we can push it out.
A late dollar short, brother.
Dude, it's crazy because I wonder if they're not going to just release Sky Oblivion. Like maybe Bethesda is like, hey, I know you've spent the last 13 years on this. Can we just buy this from you or something? And what if they just release the mod as like, that's the remake?
No, it's completely remade in Unreal Engine 5.
If it is, like, dude, it's.
Have you seen the screenshots?
Yeah,
That people.
I've seen the data mine screenshots, which they look completely different than the original game.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's one of those things that I wonder if I don't know. It just sucks that they were working on that fucking mod for so long.
Do you think there's anything they could change that would ruin the spirit of the game?
Of the remake?
Yes. Like, is there something in the remake that you think, like, if they changed it, would it ruin the spirit of the game?
If they changed any of the voice acting,
Okay.
it's like
So voice acting.
It's like
what about like
bad. I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for those ugly ass fucking character models they used to have.
Yeah, like the fucked up faces.
Yeah, there's like adds to the mystique and aesthetic of the game.
So it's being reported, and this is all leaks, so this could still end up being wrong. But
Yeah, exactly.
according to insiders and leaks, it is supposed to be a revamped HUD, revamped UI, revamped combat, so like stealth, archery. I think lockpicking as well.
See,
all that's supposed to be revamped.
So, I think all of that could fuck the game up if they did it wrong. If they just make it Skyrim, they should have just let the Sky Oblivion people finish their job. Because in my
that doesn't
opinion,
give any more money for Bethesda. I mean, unless people buy Skyrim, but
in my opinion, all of those systems were better in Oblivion than they were in Skyrim. So if they're just going to use the Skyrim systems, fuck you, Bethesda. The lockpicking in that game was more akin to what actual lockpicking looks like.
yeah,
there's a hook that you hit the tumblers up, right?
mm-hmm.
And then if you fuck up, all the tumblers fall. But when your skill gets better, less tumblers fall. And it's like a mini game, and it's like you can it's not like Skyrim where you can't even attempt. No, that wasn't Skyrim, that was Fallout. You can, if you're good enough at the lock picking minigame, you can unlock master locks as like a level 1 lock picker.
Oh wow.
But you can do that in Skyrim too. You can't do that in Fallout because they gatekeep you with skill level. You have to have a certain skill level to even attempt the lockpick. But Skyrim and Fallout have the same lockpicking system where you have like a screwdriver and a bobby pin, and you have to rotate one and then the other. And Oblivion didn't have that. They had the other lock system, and I think that system was really good. As far as the combat is concerned, in Oblivion, the combat wasn't that complex, but it was more complex than Skyrim somehow.
Yeah.
Because Skyrim's very basic. You had like light attack, and you could spam that, and then you had like a charge attack, which you couldn't really spam. It was like a heavy attack or what, a power attack, I think maybe is what they called it.
Yeah, it's something like that.
In Oblivion, you had like if you held the button, you did a different attack, or if you just like spam the button, you did a different attack. And your character would kind of just like flail around and look unskilled no matter how high your skill was, which in that regard kind of sucked. But there was a lot of mechanics with like moving the stick in a direction and then inputting a command, and then you would get a different attack. So you could do like a sideways chop if you were moving horizontally, or if you're moving backwards, you would do like a thrust.
Yeah.
And so that is lost completely in Skyrim, and it was in both Morrowind and Oblivion. So that sort of combat is like dumbed down. Like Skyrim's combat is literally dumbed down from Oblivion. So
The thing I read mentioned archery. How was archery in Oblivion?
You're basically shooting a crossbow. Skyrim might have done archery better than Oblivion. Oblivion, you had a bow and you basically press the button and the arrow flies out. It was
And it goes straight.
I mean, it would go. There was like an arc. It was an arrow, you know. It was basically like, I don't know. Maybe it was just like Skyrim actually, because I think you could draw the bow back a certain length. Like if you let it go early, it would like not go anywhere. But if you drew it back further, it would go somewhere. But that's one of those things. They used Oblivion's archery to compare to Avowed's archery to like show the difference in the physics engines. And Oblivion is like more advanced. So I don't know what advanced archery looks like. I don't know. Like it's one of those things that like they could really mess it up. Oblivion doesn't have the perks like Skyrim did. But because it had perks, but not those perks. And you didn't get to pick the perks. So you got the perks when you hit milestones with your levels. So it was like at level 0 you have the default perk. Then when you hit 25, you've got the apprentice perk, and then at 50 you have the journeyman perk, and then at 75 you have the whatever that is. I think expert, and then maybe it was adept perk, and then at 100 you have the master perk, right? And so it's like the more you raise your skills, then you would get like some perks. And they weren't necessarily game changing, but they definitely helped for sure. And just your skills getting that high in general made it really good. One of the things I've heard criticisms of people who don't like this, but one of the things I really liked about Oblivion is that you could just level your athletics like crazy and dump tons and tons of points into speed. And you could just run. It was probably stupid how fast you could move, for sure. But like there was a point in the game where like if you have 100 athletics and 100 speed, you could run faster than anything else in the game. So you could just like run, you could kill someone and then just run away, and the guards couldn't catch you. And the guards were pretty fast. But there was like a point where it's like, oh, I don't even need a horse because I'm faster than the horses.
I am speed.
Yeah, and so like at the beginning of the game, you're kind of slow, and you'll have like deer, and they'll run away from you, and you can't catch them, and you want to kill them, and it's like you have to either hit them really good with an arrow, or you just don't kill them. And it gets to the point where probably around, I don't know, 50 or 60 speed, you can just run up to them and hit them with your sword because you're faster than they are. And there's no reason to get 100 speed. It's too fast. It makes it navigating most of the interior spaces really difficult. because you'll just want to nudge yourself forward and you'll run across the room. So that's the criticism I've heard for it. But like, if you're really playing the game and you're at that speed all the time, you get used to it and you don't overshoot as much as people complain about overshooting. I feel like those people who are complaining about that got to that speed not through grinding their levels, but through console commands. But I don't know. So in that regard, they could ruin it. If there's a lot of things you could break in the game by just going over the top. Like you could make your own spells, to an extent. You couldn't like make brand new effects or whatever because that's not programmed in the game. But you could make a spell that does multiple things. Like in Skyrim doesn't even have a spell making system at all, so there's that.
There is that.
So we'll see if how they do it, and you know, I mean, if they release it, if what they're doing.
True. The reports are aiming at, so basically the original leak said it would be the week of April 21st. And then this week they started pointing fingers to specifically the 21st. So the original post by Detective Seeds was removed. He started saying that the game could launch tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern. The community found traces on the Bing search of a dedicated game page on the website of Virtuous, which is the studio behind the remaster. So there's been reports too that some people are having it pop up on Game Pass early. There's also been people stating that they've been talking to the Xbox AI support bot, and sometimes when asking when does the Oblivion remaster come out, sometimes it'll state the 21st. But that's real hit or miss on if you can get it to actually recreate that. So that's kind of interesting. And allegedly there was the Steam database listing that was spotted. So it definitely seems like it's coming soon. I don't know what dictates this, but I also read that on Twitch there was the directory for it.
Interesting.
Like the game you're streaming.
Yeah.
I did not actually look into that myself, though.
My thing about it is I want them to make a Morrowind. I want them to remake Morrowind. And I would be okay with them using Skyrim system in Morrowind. But I want them to keep the core of Morrowind. Morrowind was one of those games, like I said, it was like D&D. In Morrowind, I don't know if you know this, but what are your weapon choices in Skyrim?
Like right off the rip or total?
Yeah, total. Like, can you name all the weapon choices in Skyrim?
I could probably name most.
All right, like what?
Let's see. You got daggers. You have short swords, long swords, broad axe, warhammer, mace. You have bows, crossbows with the DLC.
Hell yeah. You want to know how I name weapons in Skyrim?
Yeah.
One-handed, two-handed, archery. That's your weapon choices. You have one-handed weapons like swords and daggers, and oh, we can dual wield. Woo! That was their new concept, by the way. They dual wielding. In Oblivion, you had blades, blunt. This is like one-handed, two-handed would fall into the same category. So if you had a big ass hammer, that's blunt, or if you had a one-handed hammer, that's blunt, right? So you had blades, blunt, archery. That was pretty much it for Oblivion also, right? In Morrowind, you had spears, you had throwing weapons, which was under the marksman skill. So you could level up your skill using a bow, and then you could switch to like throwing knives or shuriken. And you had those. You had spears. Uh, and then I think all the different weapon types had their own skill tree. So there was like axes. There was swords. Oh, and there was short and long swords. And like short swords, if you wanted to like use a dagger, that would be that skill tree versus like a long sword, which is like a big two-handed sword, which would be long swords. And I think that sort of like depth and complexity really made Morrowind like a cut above the other two games in that regard, because it was, like I said, it was more like a D&D game. Like you made your character and then you had a wide variety of weapons to choose from. Why are there no spears in Morrowind? I mean, in Skyrim. You,
Good question.
you ever seen a Viking with a spear?
Have I ever seen a Viking? No, I've never seen any
Not a
Vikings
real, but like,
personally.
have you ever seen a depiction of
In
a
media,
Viking with a
yeah,
spear, or in media? Yeah. How many of them had spears? Actually, most of them. Why did you make a game
a
about
lot.
Vikings and there's no fucking spears?
Stupid, mostly.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, what do you think? What do you think of this trend of remastering and remaking previously successful games? So, when it comes to something like Oblivion getting a remaster that is actually more of a remake where you put it on a completely new engine, versus something like The Last of Us 2 getting a remaster, like that wasn't even an old game. Like what is your thoughts and opinions on this new trend that we have been in for the past like fucking 10, 15 years?
um, I don't know. So my thing is like, there's a lot of games that probably will never get a remake that I feel deserve one. But I almost feel like, so the reason they do remasters a lot is because a lot of the things they're remastering were in the wrong aspect ratio. They're like 4:3 instead of 16:9, right? And so they have to update it. But then there's also like, there's like really bad systems, or it's like they take the time to like patch whatever thing now that they're remastering it, fix a glitch, fix an exploit, that sort of thing. And then they remake games too. And so like one of the remakes I played recently that I really enjoyed was Dragon Age 3. And that's like a Final Fantasy sort of like Final Fantasy Golden Sun, something like, those are some like big name games I can think of in that genre, where you have like, it's an RPG where you go on a quest, right? And that game is kind of interesting because it has different classes that you can pick and you get to make your own party instead of more traditional, like even the newer, um like we'll say newer Dragon Age games, that it's like there's a rogue, he's that guy. There's a bard, it's that chick, you know? Uh
Yeah.
in Dragon Quest 3, you had the system of, if you wanted a bard, they'd always learn the same skills, whatever, at the same level, but you got to make your own like bard if you wanted to. So like you could make your own, like you could make your dream team of the, like they have the names you want, they have the appearance you want. Granted, the appearance options are quite limited, and then you can make your lineup of whatever classes you want. And at some point you unlock the ability to respec classes. So like maybe you like that character and you don't want to remake them as a different character, you can just reclass them, and then all the skills they've learned so far they still know. And then when you reclass them, they learn the new skills of the new class. So that makes it like almost kind of fresh, because it's something we don't have anymore. It's like a too complex of a system, but it's like a 2D like game. Like it's not like the hard, like the visually it's not amazing or anything, right?
Yeah.
um and so like remakes like that are kind of cool, because like it's such a cool game, but you can't play it anymore. And that's a lot of things, is there's a lot of hardware limitations on playing older games. And so Nintendo's been doing this thing where they have like their retro consoles, which is just like the ROMs on their own IPs on like Switch, and you have to pay extra money to have most of them for your Switch Online profile. And that kind of is ass. I'm not a big fan of that. I'd rather buy it once and have it, but I don't know. I have mixed feelings about the remakes because sometimes they remake the game and it's like I'll give an example. In Resident Evil 4, there's like the mysterious stranger. And I don't want to call him that because that's actually a character in Fallout. But he's like the shop vendor guy, right? And you meet him multiple times in Resident Evil 4 in the original game, and he says like he's got really interesting like dialogue lines, and then like I think if you killed him, he would be gone forever or something like that. And then in the remake, it's like he's got a different voice actor. He doesn't say the same lines he used to say, and like that sort of like nostalgia of like interacting with that person is like kind of just gone from the game, because like that was like a core part of like that game for me. It was like you would talk to the dude and he'd be like, stranger, right? Like I had a soundboard on my that's how iconic he was. Someone made a soundboard of his lines and I had it on my fucking cell phone. I had my text message tone for a while as one of his lines. And so like that's like one of those things that like we've lost that in some of the remakes and some of the remasters. So like in that regard, it kind of sucks, but at the same time, like it's kind of cool getting to play older games on like new hardware and see what they could look like or what they could have been if they were made more modern in a more modern time, or like the Final Fantasy VII remakes is a good example of that. I mean, those games always looked exceptional for the time they came out. Like I remember when Final Fantasy VII came out and everyone's like, oh my god, it looks real. Like you could be watching a movie with real people. If you go back,
Yeah.
if you go back and look at it, it looks like ass. But people were saying that at the time because of how good it looked. And so that's one of those things that like now it looks really good. It still doesn't look like real, but it looks a lot closer to real than it used to. And you know, there's a lot of games that I would like to like. I'd like to see the Gex games, which is like a lizard. It's like, you know what James Bond is, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what the Gex games are?
Yeah, the lizard James
Okay.
Bond thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I actually
so
really liked them.
yeah, so those games are great. I was probably too young to be playing them. There's a lot of adult jokes in those games. I would love to play those again though. And I can't, like, and you need a PlayStation or like a N64. I think they came out on N64 also. You need the physical hardware, right? And you need the games. And so in that regard, like remaking games would be ideal because you get to play them again. However, I understand there's a lot of like legal mumbo jumbo red tape bullshit that you have to go through. For the most part, a lot of games can't get a remake because they're licensed to multiple people. So for instance, let's say there's a game and it has a musical score by X composer, and X composer doesn't want you to use the musical score. Now you can't redo that game because the composer said no. They don't want you to recopy the compositions. They don't want you to recreate the compositions, and they don't want you to use the existing compositions. Or there's a legal agreement where the existing compositions cannot be used anyway because they're locked up legally. So you'd have to remake them, and then the composer says no or whatever. And that's just one thing. Sound effects fall into that category. Weapon names, like in Call of Duty, for instance, weapon names that are like real weapons, like H&K MP5, that's a licensed trademarked name, right? And they paid for the license for it to be in Modern Warfare 2. If they want to remaster Modern Warfare 2, they have to repurchase that license. And so that adds a lot of so weapon names like there's so many things, and it makes it hard for a lot of games to even get a remaster or a remake, or unless they change things. And then once you start changing things, like, is it really the same game anymore?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I said, I have mixed feelings about it. I if it's done faithfully and if it's done well, I'm down to play it. Or if it's a game I hadn't played or I didn't get the chance to play, and now I'm getting the chance to play it, I'll play it. But games that are like nostalgic for me and like beloved, maybe. Um, if they don't do it well, I don't want to. I just don't even want to try it.
Yeah. If it's like media I've always liked, I'm I'm okay with it, but like then I think about the fact of like The Last of Us getting a remaster. Like that I guess at least more so part 2 over part 1. Like part 1 it came out on PS3, so at least it was a little bit older. But I mean even then that game still looked really good. Um and like part 2 changed up not really the art style I guess so much so, but like part 1 looked a little different than part 2, so then when they remastered part 1 looks more like part 2, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Something like Oblivion getting remastered makes a lot more sense. That game pretty old.
Yeah, but then
Um
there's titles like Little Big Planet, for instance. Most of the goal, which they would never do it because Media Molecule doesn't like the people who were behind Little Big Planet aren't there anymore for the most part, and then they're just not interested in doing that. But Little Big Planet, for instance, the draw of that game was the online um
being able to
aspect.
like run through levels with your
That
buddies or run through levels online. Yeah.
Well, it was being able to make user made levels and to have that collection and that library. And maybe some of the people who made levels in the original like Big Planet, maybe they're dead. Maybe they don't want to remake a level, you know? And so it'd be a completely different experience and ecosystem. They would just never do that. So that's one of those games that I would love to have that again, and they would just never do it. Or if they did, it would be no online user levels, which actually, funny enough, they just shut down the online user levels not too long ago for that. It was like in October last year, because it kept getting DDoSed and taken down.
That's kind of sad.
But yeah, so I don't know. I'd like to see some remakes of some older games. One I am excited for right now is Metal Gear Solid 3. Um, I loved that game. That might be one of my favorite games of all time. But I really want them to do Metal Gear Solid 4. That's the one I really want to see. Um like more than anything, I want to see Metal Gear Solid 4 because you've never played it, have you?
4 was the only one I wasn't able to play, no.
Yeah, I'd love to watch you play it for the first time, especially since you've played the other ones more recently. They're like I played the first one and not all the way through, but like when before 2 came out. And then I played 2, and 2 might be one of the first games that I ever beat by myself. And it took me forever because I was a child and didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And then 3, I used to run through 3. Like I've probably done the story on 3 a couple times, right? And then 4, I played the ever living shit out of 4, but everything in 4 made sense to me because I'd played the first 3. And if it's your first Metal Gear game, it was kind of crazy. But you never got to experience it. And I think you missed out on like a great experience. I mean, I think technically you
True.
played like MGO a little bit on like a jailbroken PS3, but that's not like you didn't play the game. You played the online like afterthought facet of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, 4 getting remastered would be cool. Honestly, after Metal Gear Solid Delta, I kind of hope they go through and do the other games at least 4 so that way I can play it, but 1 and 2 getting remastered as well would be kind of cool.
Yeah. I feel like 1 and 2 could also easily be ruined by them changing the mechanics. Like, imagine they make 1 more like 3, where you have like more of a free looking camera instead of a static camera in different areas. Like all those old games like Resident Evil 2, for instance. That's actually a good example, is Resident Evil 2. How they changed in Resident Evil 2, it used to be when you'd run down a hallway, your camera's looking at the hallway and you're just moving along inside this space, but the camera doesn't move at all.
Yeah.
And in the remaster, you're free looking the camera all the time. And so that makes it sort of like interesting. Running from Mr. X, for instance, with your camera being fixed is so fucking scary because you can't see him, but you can just hear him. But in the newer games, you can just turn around and look at him.
So yes, but I think it still was completely fine.
I think they, well, so that's the thing. I think the Resident Evil 2 remake was done, like, it's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good for sure. But that's one of those things that's like older Metal Gear games, like the first, well, technically all first 3 of them, they had like that static camera, and you could go into first person and be Snake's eyes and look around. But for the most part, you played the game in like single camera angle by single camera angle.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not saying that changing that ruins the game, but it could ruin the game, or at least how the game plays, because it's so it makes it so much of a different experience.
Yeah. That's true. It could. I don't know. I think for me, like, part of the core is the story. As long as the gameplay is like palatable, I think it's okay. So I don't think 1 and 2 would be ruined with three's mechanics. I think they could ruin it, but I think as long as it was three's mechanics, I think it would be fine. Personally, I'm sure there's some people that would say, "No, that's ruined. Don't touch my beloved game. You're gonna ruin it if you give it that type of gameplay." I think it would be fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, 1 and 2, more so 1 and 2. 2 still played pretty okay. 1 has such an outdated play style, in my opinion. I really think it could benefit from getting touched up, kind of like Resident Evil 1 and 2 and 3. Like I guess more so 2 and 3. I have heard they are going to go back and then give 1 the same treatment that 2 and 3 and 4 got, but 1 through 3 had such a outdated play style. That's why when they did 2 and 3, they completely like fucking changed the status quo and made it more modern.
Yeah.
But they did it in a tasteful way, and they did it well, and it was well received. Um, our last topic, gonna be kind of quick. I had read something originally, and I couldn't find it again, but Sony is dropping a new PlayStation handheld. And the thing I wanted the exact quote because I don't want to misquote this, but it was stating that it was supposed to be as powerful as a PlayStation 5. Not the Pro, but the original PlayStation 5, which is kind of crazy.
And it's not the Portal, right?
It is not the Portal. It is an actual handheld PlayStation that is supposed to be competing with the Switch.
Interesting.
It is supposed to be your PS5 games on the go, but not the Portal. It'll actually be playing them, not like streaming it.
I mean, honestly, I'm not, this might sound jaded or whatever, but I'm not really impressed or whatever. Are they calling it the PSP2?
I didn't see anything with the name for sure
So
yet.
my thing about it is that there's the Steam Deck, there's the Asus ROG or whatever. Um, like there's a lot of handhelds. There's no reason for anyone to be putting anything out that's Switch powered, or even Switch 2
Yeah.
powered for that matter.
I agree with that.
I mean, I guess the Switch 2 kind of competes more with like the Steam Deck, but I think it competes with like the base Steam Deck, and there's versions above and beyond that. Like it's got to be done well, and I don't know. I feel like, is it gonna have 3G or what? Because I don't think it's gonna have 4 or 5G. Like, is it like, how are you gonna play this stupid thing? Because how are you gonna play it? Like, everything is online gaming now, right?
Yeah.
Or live service gaming, or you need the internet for X, Y, or Z reasons. I can't. I feel like the time of handheld, like gaming handhelds, is kind of run its course, and it's gone because. Okay. The time of gaming handhelds has kind of run its course. It's got some holy shit, that really derailed everything. The internet is so integral to actual gaming that I find, like, for instance, this is something I've noticed in my own life right now. I got the kids Switches, right? So they both have their own Switch lights, right? And they like to take them with them when we go to, like, I don't know, the fucking grocery store, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they want to play their fucking games, and if they change a game while we're out and about at the grocery store, you need a fucking internet connection to check if you can run this game, because it needs to check with the online services that you do in fact own the game. So if they don't have a way to, like, have your games playable offline, it's dead in the water. Like, it's DOA for sure. Because, you know, on Switch, it's like they can't run a check to play their online games because there's no internet connection. So
there's
now,
no Wi-Fi. Yeah.
now we have to just buy all physical games because otherwise they can't play them. Which I don't personally mind. It teaches them to be responsible with their possessions and to keep track of their shit. But at the same time, it would be really nice to not have to carry a case with all this shit, and you can just have your charger and your Switch, and you have your gaming library in your hand, right? So if the PlayStation doesn't do that, it needs to have it needs to have cellular data. Like, it has to. But the problem is anytime anyone's put something out like that in the past, it costs a monthly fee.
Yeah.
Now, if you could maybe upgrade your Plus or something, even then, I don't know. Like, it's kind of some bullshit. That you're gonna need the internet, and it's kind of sucks because needing the internet and like mobile, not like cell phone mobile, but like on the go gaming on like a handheld console. I just don't think they're compatible, really.
No, Sony really hasn't been doing well in that market. Not like Nintendo.
Well, dude, so did you know that Sony made a phone at one point that
Yeah,
it,
I
it,
really wanted it.
it was a phone that you could slide up, and then you'd have thumbsticks and buttons.
Mm-hmm.
That phone was sick. I really wanted that phone too. But like, I don't know. It kind of sucked. PSP, I loved PSP. I think I own 3 of them. Which brings me to one of my other favorite games, which was Monster Hunter Freedom Unite 2. That game I have over 1,000 hours on.
God damn.
Yeah. On a handheld console. And actually, one of my PSPs died, and I bought another one just to play that game. Back when I was poor, by the way, I like didn't eat lunch for like a month so I could buy it. I probably should have stuck to that. Honestly, I got kind of fat. Yeah, I don't know. The original PSP, there's a lot of good games on it. They had a Ridge Racer, which I think might have killed the Ridge Racer series when they put that one out. But it was a racing game. That was good. They had this other game called Kingdom of Paradise, which was some like weird port. I think it was a port anyway from some Japanese game. Where you were like a dude and like you basically just press square, but what your square does changes based on what scroll you had equipped, and you could equip different scrolls to do different, like it was like, think of like kung fu, and then there were like 5 villages, and then you would go to a village and learn the kung fu from that village, and then you could use it in combat. But you used a sword, but it was kind of cool because like the swords, like almost like, I don't want to say they sang, but they were like musical almost. That game was really fun. There was this other game called Untold Legends, which was like basically Diablo. I'd say it's basically Diablo. It was like a randomly generated game where you'd fight like enemies and go on a Diablo sort of adventure quest sort of thing. And that game was great. I don't know. There were a lot of good games. Like going back and playing them, they're like kind of shitty, but like for handheld on the go games, it was like, this is kind of sick. Like I could turn off my regular PlayStation 2 and I could go lay down in bed and play a game. And that was the huge thing back. Sounds stupid. This was the huge thing back then. I had a Game Boy, and you know, Game Boy was like more like 8-bit, 32-bit sort of graphics.
Yeah.
I think PSP was 32-bit and Game Boy was like 16 or something like that. But Game Boy was not backlit at the time. The Game Boy SP was the Advanced SP, which I eventually got one of those. But like PSP was cool because it had a backlight.
What did SP stand for? Did they ever like state?
Huh?
What did it?
It was like super portable or something like that. I don't remember what it stood for, but yeah, the PSP had a backlight by default. It was kind of like I almost feel like it was like the pathway to smartphones, because like it had a web browser. You could use the internet on the PSP. That was kind of cool. It was really slow and fucking buggy as shit, but like
Maybe it was.
you could do that. Like I don't know. It was cool. Handhelds now, I don't know. They're kind of like gimmicky. Maybe they've always been gimmicky. I don't know.
I think they always were.
They're so big and clunky now though. It's like the PSP was cool because you could put it in your pocket.
Yeah, it was tiny.
The Game Boy was cool because you could put it in your pocket, right? The Switch, I mean, maybe the Switch Lite you can put in your pocket. I wouldn't. But like I wouldn't put the regular Switch in my pocket either. So like I don't know.
Yeah, it's like that's a little silly.
Yeah. I mean, you could definitely put it in a bag. My cousin takes his everywhere, and he just walks around with it in its case, in like a one of those, it's just a zipper case, and he like goes to the bar with it. Like he just, it lives like in his hand, and he walks everywhere with it.
What do your kids do? Just carry it?
Yeah, they just carry like that. They have cases, and if like we're going on like a trip of some sort, they use the cases, but because they're usually taking the charger with them. But if they're just going, I think we're just going to the grocery store or something, they just take it in their
Like
hand.
hold it in their hand.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, they're not holding anything else. They're children, right? Children don't have like fucking. It's like
They have car keys.
Yeah, it's like taking a book with you or something. You know, it's pretty simple. The real
That's
issue
fair.
is when they take a book and the Switch, and then they want to take like a toy, and it's like, okay, calm down now. Now you need a bag.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I finally found that article I was talking about.
Okay.
Um, it's supposed to be more powerful than the Xbox Series S, is what the rumor is.
Okay. So not even as strong as the PS5. Got it.
No, evidently not. Evidently not. No.
Almost though. I don't know. Um, it might be a better option than having a backbone. Not your spine.
Have you seen what the
but
portable looks like? The portable looks really fucking clunky. It's huge.
The portal, you mean?
Or yeah, I said portable. Embarrassing. Yeah, the PlayStation Portal.
Um, it looks like a tablet with a backbone on it.
Well, it's like a tablet with PlayStation handles.
Yeah. Well, that's what the backbone is basically. But you put it on your phone.
Yeah.
And so the portal is you just don't need a phone, you have a screen. I don't like that design because the handles are really big and the screen is really thin. Like when you actually hold it like this way, like the screen is like real thin. Like, I feel like you could just like snap the whole fucking thing in half if you wanted to.
Imagine you're playing COD Mobile.
Yeah, dude, you're playing COD Mobile and you die in fucking PUBG because you were texting and you just your fucking desk, dude.
You just fucking just snap it.
Yeah, and then you just don't tell Daniel that you fucking karate chopped the fuck out of your desk and you've been playing with a hole under your mouse pad for the last year. Yeah, exactly. Just like that.
Just like that.
And then he's
Just
like,
like
why
that.
don't you turn your fucking desktop around, you dumbass? And you're like, damn, I never thought of that.
I never thought of that, Daniel.
Damn it, Daniel. And then it was the hole was where you put your drink and you kept fucking knocking your drink over. Yeah, it was great. Great times. And the moral of the story, kids, is when you're playing COD Mobile and texting at the same time, don't get angry that you died and fucking karate chop your desk.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you won't break your PlayStation Portal. Yeah, I don't know. I hope it looks more like the Steam Deck and less like that Portal because that thing's atrocious.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Should we wrap it?
We should wrap it.
Spotify wrapped? Crunch wrap.
Exactly.
Top 5 rappers of all time, go.
I'm
gonna stop you right there. You're already wrong.
That is episode 4 of Stuck Between a Rock and a Bald Spot.
Wait, who's Rock? Who's Bald Spot? The viewer. Yeah, good.
The
Good.
audience, exactly.
Yes, the audience is the bald spot.